not around, have you found I'm always on your mind? And when you hear my name, does it sound the same as you felt when you heard it last time? Do you see flowers in my hair that aren't really there? Do you feel the pain when I'm blue? And when you see me, does it seem to be that blues change to life in bloom? 'Cause this is how I see you, and these are the things you do. You may not know, so I'm telling you so, the best way I know how to. Welcome everyone to the Boiling Point Podcast. We are live streaming the school board meeting that has just begun. I am alongside Mariana, and we may even have Denise jump in a little bit later. Mariana, the meeting is already started. I'm going to unmute it so that people can start hearing it. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's just keep it muted for a minute. They're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff.
We have another parent joining in.
Okay, so we'll have someone else joining in.
And happy Valentine's Day.
When you get downstairs,
Hi, Daddy. Josh.
Leo.
I have it muted on
The
the
principal of Redland.
I'm coming downstairs, right behind you.
He hired me back in 1988, and he was always he was a great mentor. He was a great administrator. He's a great human being. Taught his kids, and he's going to be sorely missed. And he just passed away at the beginning of February, and I believe his memorial service is this Saturday. So I just wanted to recognize him.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got Brandy joining us also here for the watch along. Welcome to the show, Brandy. I think this is your first time on the show.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Every year we are excited to invite the administrative director from Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center, the technical school where our students attend. And 3 of the board members serve as JOC members up there. And tonight, along with Mr. Tom Wolf, the administrative director, who I'll invite up to the microphone, he has brought 2 emerging health professions students with him as well. So Tom, I'll leave it to you and have the students come on up and join you and tell you a little bit about the school and tell you a little bit about the program.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stoltz, for the kind introduction. My name is Tom Wolf. I am the administrative director at Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center. I began there the end of October. I did, prior to the meeting, put some information sheets at each of your seats. If you have had a chance to look at them, I will make some comments about them later. But at this time, it's my privilege to introduce 2 students, both seniors from Redland High School, who are enrolled in our Emerging Health Professionals program. And I would like to give them an opportunity to tell you a little bit about their experiences at the CPC. First is Lily Strasser.
So, Mariana, for anybody tuning in or anybody who hasn't been watching these, there's always some stuff at the beginning of these meetings, right? Before they actually start getting into some of the policy.
That is correct. This is where they recognize kids' achievements. They recognize teachers, school board members. It's what I call the it's called the shout out session. I call it the rah-rah session.
Physiology at Penn Messiah University and medical terminology at Cumberland Perry.
Brandy, welcome to the Boiling Point Podcast. If you're more than welcome to jump in anytime you want to.
Shadowing, so I can learn what parts of healthcare I like and what I would like
Okay.
as a career. Outside of Oak Tech, I am a captain on the basketball team. I'm part of Patriots.
Is there anything you guys are specifically looking for in this meeting
After high
coming up?
school, I
Anything
plan
that
on attending Penn State University
specifically that's
to
going to be
study
happening?
behavioral health in hopes of becoming a genetic
Well,
counselor.
me personally, I'm looking for the finance report. Basically, I want to see how they're going to justify yet again spending more money in a school. Okay, and we're opening schools left and right, and our scholastic scores are down, and it's been proven that it's been down. So we have the schools, we just don't have the scholastic scores.
It's from that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, and we have Denise joining us now.
Thank you.
We'll bring her into the stage.
what is
There
Patient
she is.
Spirit?
Welcome back, Denise, to the
We go
Boiling
to
Point
elementary
podcast.
schools and we help like out in the classrooms.
Hello,
Like,
thank
I
you
help in the
for having me
lunches and I like
back.
sit with the students and then I
Jonathan,
go to
hi
recess
ladies.
with them and just interact with them.
This is a good
That's really great. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
And now Braden Smith will share a little bit about his experience with you.
I wish I could speak up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Braden Smith, and I'm a senior at Redland. I currently am going to VOTech, where I'm in the Emerging Health Professionals program. I picked this program because when I was signing up for classes last year, I knew I wanted to go to the medical field, but I never knew exactly what I wanted to do. In this program, we get to shadow at different hospitals and like labs and stuff like that, and get to see what a normal day looks like for people in different careers in the medical field. Another part of the program is that we are dual enrolled through Messiah University. Every Tuesday and Thursday morning, we attend Messiah, where we take lab and lecture. This has really shown me what a college class is like and helping me prepare for next year when I go on to college. One of the best things that we get to do is shadowing. I think it's just cool to see what people do and like what different jobs are like, and just getting that opportunity that not many other students have. Outside of school, I play soccer and tennis. And then after I graduate, I plan on attending West Virginia University to major in forensic biology. Any questions?
Who have you shadowed so far? Or maybe not a person, but oh, okay. Go ahead, Chris. What type of shadowing have you done so far?
So we've shadowed at West Shore Hospital and Harrisburg Hospital mostly, and we've done imaging. So it's been like CT, X-ray, stuff like that. And then soon we get to start going into like the ER, the OR, ICU, places like that.
Okay, great.
Randy, it looks like you have a little one interested in what you're doing.
In your shadowing experiences, have you learned or leaned one
Is
way or
that your-
another as
was
to
that your
maybe
daughter?
a field that you'd want to go into?
Yeah, it is, but no,
I think
her
so for
headphones won't
forensics,
work.
The labs have been pretty
Oh,
cool
okay.
because it's kind of similar to me as to what I think forensics would be like.
I don't know. They connect to my
I'd
iPad.
just like to say, I mean, back when I went to Redland, I'm not sure if we had these kind of programs available to us, but I think it's just such a great, as somebody who halfway through college had to change his major because he didn't like what he was studying.
Yo, the microphones are
It's
terrible.
great to get that experience early on and kind of
They always are.
what maybe you want to do the rest of your
No,
life,
it's on.
especially at such a young age. So congratulations, such a great program that the VOTech
Really surprising that they wouldn't have better sound. Well, I mean, you know what? I mean,
The,
we're about to
program
start
started
covering
3 or 4
Northern
years
School
ago.
District. The Boiling Point podcast is, you know, we're about to
I had
get
a feeling
involved with
Chris had
Northern
seen it
School
with me
District,
before.
and they don't even live stream.
And
Uh-uh.
this is a
School board
senior
meeting.
only component.
No, is it still on?
Because they're doing the dual enrollment
Yeah, let me
with
put plus
Messiah,
one on.
and you said the other one was Penn.
Says
Penn
volume
College
maximum.
now. That has varied over the years, but
Brandy's having some technical
so
difficulties.
these are. I don't think either of you attended CTC prior to
So
this
is
program,
Denise.
correct? However, there are students who could attend in their senior year as part of the emerging health that are coming out of the other health.
We lost Denise, I think.
Healthway.
Oh, no, there she is.
Healthcare
Can you
pathways.
guys hear me?
Yes, we
things
got
like
you back.
that. But so
Okay.
this is a unique connection that started
can hear
about
you.
4 years ago, and it is. We have great partners that help to set this up. Getting the shadowing experiences and the opportunities to go over to all the facilities that they're going to that takes a lot of coordination and partnership on those organizations' part as well. And this has been a great opportunity. And we've had a number of students that have gone through here and then have gone to, I can think of 2, I believe, in the last 2 years that went on to the radiology program over at HAC. and done other things. The kids that are going into nursing or going into various health fields. So we're glad that you've had the opportunity and taken advantage of it, and are having a great experience doing it because it is unique. And I agree with you, Mr. Brenton.
This
What's
is always
available
about a
to these
half
students
hour or
going through high
so.
school didn't exist for
Right.
most of us in high school. So, and at the cost that most of these credits and things can be earned is
It's a,
very
Shout
cost
outs,
effective.
the shout out section.
Parents tend to like that.
And we
sometimes they
lost some,
stretch it
It's
further,
about half
but
an hour. I
hopefully
think they go
we'll
into
keep
an
it.
hour
But
before.
hopefully you're right. Yeah, yeah, it's not uncommon, but hopefully it'll be short and sweet.
There is 20 in each
Well,
section.
one thing that they're trying to do is that they're trying to shorten all this section because it takes so much time, and people go
Yeah,
there,
the
like I stated
experience has
before,
been,
straight out
it's a
of work,
4 credit course, right?
exhausted. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I just made it home by the skin of my
It's no
teeth,
joke.
you
And
know,
I
to
think
sit
one of the
down
things
through
that's
all
very
this. And
powerful about it
I'm
is
not saying it's not important to
it starts
recognize the
to get
children.
kids
It
ready
is,
for the caliber of
okay,
work
but they have
that
the
they're going to
habit of
meet with when they
prolonging
go
it.
to
And when
college.
Guy White was
And
president, if he didn't want
what
the
a
parents
safe
to speak, or
way
he saw parents
to
there
have
that
the
he didn't want
supportive
to wanted to
adults
speak,
as
he
they're
would
going through it,
drag this out
and
for more
all
than
of
an
the
hour.
other
Am I right,
supports the
Denise?
school can offer. So,
You are
yeah, I think it's a
100%
great
correct.
course because
I'm sure
you
Brandy
know how, like,
remembers.
Mr. Brenton, maybe you had this experience as the same one I did, in switching majors. It doesn't take you too long sometimes to get into something and say,
Oh, they
"Uh,
love Brandy.
I don't know that that's going to be for me," or I really love this and
Yeah,
this is
that
what I'm going to do.
relationship with
So,
me.
yeah, A&P is
That's okay.
Well done.
They need to do what's right. Period.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Wolf, any other comments from you tonight?
Yes, if you don't mind, if I can take a few minutes.
Please, yes.
Who is
Uh,
Mr.
the two sheets that I put at your seats, one of them is information specific to the West Shore School District. And if you look from the
okay, so we just
2015-16
literally saw
school
the
year
camera zoom
to the
in on
current
this
school
guy.
year, your
Yeah.
enrollment has
Which means
Did you
that
increased
there
catch
from
the
is,
last
62
name,
from
anybody?
210 students to
no, I
268
didn't.
students.
But
Okay.
That does not happen
clearly they have
without
somebody
the support
able to
of
Tom, I
control
all
the
think it
the
was.
cameras.
administration and the staff within your buildings to encourage students to pursue these
Oh
opportunities
yeah, and this
that are
thing of
available
now
to
not
Didn't
them.
showing
And for
the
that, I
school
thank you.
board, okay, before
We
the
do
way they
have
did it, that was done on
268 of your
purpose.
students with us this year. We are responsible for, in most cases, a half day of their education for 3 years while they are with us. I can assure you that is a responsibility
it's
that we
so
do take
funny
very
the length they're
seriously,
going
and we
to.
want to provide the best opportunities that we can for them, whether those opportunities are
It's not
moving
gonna
on
work.
to post-secondary education or moving directly into the workforce or a combination of the two. Uh, the second sheet has the colored sheet has a lot of facts and figures on it that I think if you read through them, they're impressive. They sound really good. But I would like to draw your attention to a couple at the bottom of the page. Here where it says 1,700 1,700 industry credentials were earned by our students last year. That's a lot. We have around 1,400 had 1,400 students last year, so that's more than one credential per student. But I think when you look down at an individual level to the opportunities that can provide for the students, it's even more impressive. And I'm going to use two very simple examples.
Let me respond to
If we have a
Christy
student
in
in
the
our
Facebook
certified
chat. You
nursing
guys don't worry
assistant
about that.
program earns that credential, that
Right on.
typically for
Thank
them is
you.
going to mean an additional $5 to $7 an
Didn't
hour
this
that they're
guy
going
give
to
a
be able to earn
presentation prior,
after
Mariana?
they graduate. For many of
Probably.
those students who are choosing to go on and continue their education, that allows them to be able to earn enough money to support themselves and simultaneously participate in
I
post-secondary
forget what
education. I think
where he's from.
that is a really neat thing that we have to offer, and we put students in a great position to get started in their adult lives. The second thing is the 723 dual enrollment credits that were earned last year by our students. Some of them were true dual enrollment courses. Some of them were college and the high school. Uh, for many of our students, they can accumulate up to 12 college credits before they graduate. By doing that, they in some cases can take a full semester off of their college experience to earn a degree. In other cases, it just simply allows them to have a little bit better transition into that post-secondary education because that first semester or two, they do not have to have a heavy load of courses and they're able to make that adjustment a little bit better. Um, the third item there in the orange is 129 students participated in our cooperative education program last year. Right now, at this point in the school year, I believe we have around 113 or 14 students that are currently working in jobs related to their career area and being paid for them. They're receiving that on the job experience. And one of the things that I think sometimes gets lost in that is it is not just that they are earning money, it is that they are making that transition into the workforce at a point in time where they also still have the support of their program teacher, the cooperative education coordinator, maybe a counselor in the school. If they're having problems making with some part of that transition into the workforce, they still have some supports in place that we are able to help them.
Randy, I have
And
you
I think
muted
that leads
because
to
you were having a little
success.
bit of back
Right
feed on
now,
the
our
on it.
average for the students that are participating in co-op, the average hourly wage
No problem.
is around $16 an hour. The highest wage for any of those students is a carpentry student that was working on a prevailing wage job and earning around $36 an hour. So I think you can see we do provide some opportunities that really help to provide a jump start to young people as they leave high school. Uh,
So
is
here's
there
at
any
the
other questions
co-op.
that you would have for me that I can answer
Yeah,
about
that's what
this
they're talking
piece
about.
for you?
I hope someone's teaching
Okay.
that kid who's making $35 an hour how to manage his money.
Yes, we do.
Votech because that's what it was.
We'll have to figure out his
I
name.
have a hard time not calling it that myself, but I haven't yet, at least in a public forum. But
And
yes,
see,
we
they
do
just
have wait
switched
lists
camera
for
views. So
many of our
someone is sitting
programs. That
somewhere
was
Yep.
the
and has
impetus for the
control
construction
over the feed.
The
project
communications
that
director,
is
right?
in the planning stages
I'm just
right
saying,
now.
whoever they
You would
have
think.
controlling the cameras, the feed of the cameras,
would think that you're
whatever weird,
probably
whatever we
aware
get to
that
see,
So,
should be
bid
fired, and
developed
they should
for a
have someone else put in
redesign
place.
is
so
out
when the parents
for bid
speak,
currently, and we're
you will see that when the
anticipating
parents
a
speak, they will not
mid-March
show the
bid
board
opening.
members. Rarely they
That's
do.
what is
Okay.
advertised.
And that was done on purpose because we
Some
have
of the
caught many
specific
of the board
programs that we've
members
had
doing,
wait lists
committing
in
dirty
are
tricks.
automotive
Okay. While
technology,
people were
diesel
speaking and
technology,
the other members
carpentry,
weren't
and welding.
aware. Like when Cam Big, when they were having the vote, which vote was it? There was one of the votes. Do you remember, Denise, which vote was it?
Yeah, Mr. Wolf,
They were voting on something that they
both have their
needed
report
Geist
in, but
White
it
to
seems
break
like
a
you've covered a
tie.
lot of it.
And we saw Cambic go
With the
over to
building,
Argot and have
just
Argot
since you're
call
here, you've been
Cambic,
expert
I
in
mean,
this.
call
What do you
Geist White
take
for
from your
the
leadership
vote.
since you've come on to these
So
boards?
when we pointed that out in the
What was
video,
that for?
soon after that, I don't remember,
Really
but soon
appreciate it.
after that, they stopped
The
showing the
redesign
school
has
board
brought the
members. Okay,
estimated cost
in the way
down
that we're seeing panoramic right now. Now they just
$3
focus
million.
on the speaker.
About three.
Yeah, that's. I mean, they should. When the
it-
speaker's
it
speaking, they
becomes
should
kind of
be.
fuzzy
They
when you
should
start
be
looking
on the
at the
screen, but
activities,
then we
but if
should
you
be
look at
paying
the
back to
project
see
itself,
the
it's
school
about $3
board.
million.
We're going to be a
Definitely.
lot closer to what our
Correct.
budgeted amount is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Plus, we have received some grants too for the
We did.
construction.
We received a RCAP grant for $500,000, which is helpful. We also received a facilities improvement grant since the project was initially conceived.
And
which-
we're hoping to break ground around April
yes.
of 2025, work through the summer, and then take some time off where we don't disrupt the program, then finish this up by August 2026.
Well, everything that you just said is correct, except that we will be able to continue working through the 25-26 school year on the addition, as it will not disturb the existing building. You know, that construction will not affect the existing building during the school year, with the exception of the front entrance, which we can work around.
And two more things I want to bring up. One was the co-op. You know, we've gone, as you stated, we went from 50 to about 120 some kids, and hopefully we can add another co-op person to go out and check on the kids because of the geographical area is so large. Trying
Yes.
to keep track and keep up with all these kids. It's fantastic. Kids get actual experience doing this. And I know talking to people my age, no one up here is my age, But the fact that the kids can earn college credits, you guys can go into college, where when I was growing up, it was like, you're doing that and you're going into.
Okay, so for any school board member who ends up watching the Boiling Point podcasts on our coverage of this, please, I can't stress enough how much you need to speak into the microphone when you're sitting at the table there at the school board meeting. Speak into the microphone, okay? Because people in the room maybe can hear you, but nobody on the live stream can hear you.
Maybe.
I have my volume turned all the way up right now just to hear them. And I know anybody who's watching right now is having to turn jack their volume up to hear what the school board's talking about and then turn it back down when we are talking. I apologize for that. There's nothing that I can do about that. This is on. They have very, very poor
This is
sound
by
quality.
design.
Yeah, they're not.
There's
speaking
always
into
been
the mic.
audio problems. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
it's not your fault there.
yeah.
But even more, I mean, even more, let's be honest. How many times haven't we told Abigail Turney to turn on her microphone? Some of them refuse to turn on the microphone. And her
And
reply
Geist
is
White
that she's
still
speaking to
doesn't.
her colleagues. And Guy White still doesn't turn on the mic. He refuses to speak into a mic unless it is pointed out. So again,
Yeah,
these are our elected
And then he
servants.
huffs and puffs.
yeah, this is just
It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
I mean, and
It
I don't
really
want
is.
to. I'm not just going to single out the one side or the other. Everybody who's sitting at that table right now needs to speak into the microphones better. Not just one side or the other. Every single person who's sitting at that round table needs to
Yeah.
speak up and speak.
They
into
have
the
really
microphone.
crappy microphones there too.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to if somebody inform them. Maybe
They
I don't know.
can
Maybe
they
they
can
don't
spend
know.
a little bit of our money on that, right?
Not even just
Yep.
that, but if microphones were like close to their mouth. Okay, they're
Where
not
is your
using-
piece, Carolyn?
They're not using. We got to meet Brandy. Brandy's having technical issues. That's okay. It's her first time on the show and in StreamYard, so we're not gonna harass her for that. It's normal, and we didn't get a chance to link up because we were
Hey,
all of
family
us were
stuff
running
comes
behind.
through.
All of us were running behind today, so we didn't get a chance to go live early before it actually started. But yeah, that's why if you're watching right now, I'm sorry if you have to turn the volume up to hear them when we're not talking and then turn it down when we are talking. So, because there's nothing I can do about it. They've got to speak into the microphone.
I feel
Mhm.
bad. It's like almost embarrassing.
No, I mean, I have to have my volume. If I know it's the difference in volume, because I have to turn my volume on my computer all the way up to hear what they're saying. And then whenever you guys talk, I got to turn my volume back down.
You gotta adjust
to
it.
make sure. Yeah. So I know that whoever's watching right now is having the same problem. They likely can't hear what's happening in the school board meeting.
Guys, and we've been at meetings that we've been sitting in the audience and we haven't been able to hear them.
Yeah, I
Correct.
believe you.
Okay,
It's
unacceptable.
really it's very unacceptable.
Yeah, that's something
We need
We
to get on them
elected it
about
in.
spending money on better audio.
Although, like I
What,
said,
without
Northern doesn't even have. They don't even live stream their school board meetings. So
Oh,
I can't
Lord.
wait. To
What?
Yeah, I'm about to start helping Northern.
They have to. It's a public
They do not. There's no public.
record.
There's no public thing that
Oh.
I even talked to parents and they're like, no, they don't live stream the school board meetings. This parent does.
Wow.
So
That doesn't mean it's lawful.
I'm going to
just
have
because
her.
they do it. You know what I
I'm going
mean?
to have her sitting in the school board meeting and then have her in the studio with me. And then we're going to live stream Northern school board meeting with her phone inside StreamYard studio here. So that's
There
going
you
to
go.
quite the task. But that's what
Yep.
I'm saying. Like, yeah, we have crappy
Chicken
audio, but
dance.
at least if nothing else, they do live stream it because there's school districts
I
that
can't
don't.
believe they have to have a public. I wonder if do they do minutes?
Can you give me? Would have to. If it's public, then public minutes would be the only way that
They
could
would
get around
have
that.
to,
Yeah.
absolutely, if they're not doing video.
It's unbelievable. And then with all the taxes that they rake us over the coal with, you would think that they would invest in better microphones that work better audio versus these
I know.
pornographic,
They're not that expensive.
novels and the social emotional learning curriculum that they're spending money on.
Amen, Mariana.
Don't get me started.
We need to correct that together.
Well,
And we
We do, and
really
it has to be
need,
collectively.
Madam President of the West Shore School Board, I can help you with your audio problems. Please reach out through the Boiling Point podcast, and we can assist you both with what microphones you should get and maybe even technical problems if you're having technical problems, because shenanigans.
is anyone speaking? Because I
Yeah.
am having some ear
We can't
problems
hear
and
it.
I don't know if,
Hold on a minute. I got my volume turned up. Let me see.
well, I do too, but
Me too.
I can hear you guys fine, but them I can barely hear. Am I too loud? Should I turn my volume down? Sorry. I
No,
always
they're
feel
too
like I'm
low.
talking too loud.
If there's nothing you can do, we are substantially louder than the meeting. Anybody who tunes in
Oh,
likely is only going to either be able to listen to us or listen to the school board meeting. And every time we talk, they're going to get their eardrums blown out. So anybody who's watching at this point or tuning in at this point, please just make sure you
please
don't turn it
forgive
up
me.
too
Yeah,
loud. It's unlikely we're going to
I'm
hear
gonna be
you're going to
mindful. I
hear the
turn my
school
volume
board.
down a little bit.
I want you to understand too, everybody, that I am not just listening. I'm not listening to this through the live stream. I'm listening to this on my computer, and I can't hear them. Whether I was in the studio or not, if I was watching this live stream,
Well,
I would not be able to
I
hear
have it
them.
on my computer also with the volume max to the max, and you can't hear it.
You can't hear anything either?
I've had my
Wow.
volume all the way up, and
Mm-mm.
This is
we're talking about a program.
unacceptable.
We're talking about a
No, we hear you,
program
but
of
let's
some kind right now. I'm not sure who's talking. That's the problem. I don't know.
I can't tell.
Me neither. I can't tell who's talking.
They're so far away.
Who sits to Kelly's right?
Mandy or Kevin or
Let me see. That is Mandy. So it's
Is she talking? Or the one in the blonde hair?
Cambic to her left, Mandy to her right.
All right, so woman with the blonde
That's
hair. That's
Heidi
speaking.
Thomas next to Cambic with the black shirt.
What about who's on the
Okay,
other
so that's
side?
Heidi Thomas.
Who's got the blonde hair? On the right side, 2 seats to the right
So
of Kelly.
we have the one that's
This is
speaking is
Cox.
Heidi Thomas. The one next to Heidi Thomas
Gotcha.
is it's Brenda Cox. Then you have Adam Trone, the communist. And then you have Geis White next to Mandy. Then you have Tierney. Then we have David Brenton. Then we have Kevin Hall. Then we have the taco eating dragon Todd Stokes. Then we have Matthew Gay, and then we have what even is his job, Mr. Sanders, outside of not working on the natatorium? I think he's facilities manager or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Well, with everything falling apart,
I think that they're having issues because I cannot even bring them up on the main
like is it
computer.
frozen?
I'm trying to
Oh,
see if
you
I can
can't
bring
bring it
that
up
up.
on the main. Let me try on mine.
Or they know we're on and they decided to silence it.
Can you message Christy to see if the feed's working?
All the participants and the winners of the academic bowl that was held at
Okay, so the
Crossroads
problem,
Middle School
I
is
might have
funded
had it
by
muted for everybody
Westshore
who's tuning in,
Foundation.
so
We
my
thank you.
apologies. I had that
It's
audio
always
muted, so
a great
if anybody
time
just
to
got an
watch these
improvement to their
teams
audio
and
can
their
hear the meeting
coaches, the
now, it's
teachers that
because
put
I
in the
did have it
time
muted, but it's
working with these
unlikely you're still
children.
gonna hear it because
They
I still have to
practice
jack
so
my
hard,
volume all the way up
and
when I
they
want to hear what
deserve a
they're
lot
saying.
of recognition. So congratulations.
So they're still doing more congratulations and more fluff, right?
Mr. Trone.
Very quickly, I would
Yes.
give a shout out to
We lost
social
Brandy.
worker Erica Stifler,
Yes,
who was
we did.
recognized for being a super care hero in 2020.
I'm not sure what happened. I'm not. I
I
don't.
think this
Oh,
is
there
probably
she
the
is. She's
second or
back.
third time that we've either given her a shout
Hold on,
out
Brittany. We have
or
a.
heard
Go ahead, Steve.
from some of the accolades
I'm still
that she
here.
has been doing.
Okay,
So,
good.
just extremely proud of that.
Well, whatever
And
you did,
as
your
well
audio is
as,
now significantly
Guidance
better as
Counselor
well.
Appreciation Week was just
I
a
switched
week
to my
or two ago,
computer.
and,
That is
I couldn't even
definitely
begin
the way
to
to
do
go, everybody.
justice
If
to
you're
the
using
work that our
StreamYard,
guidance counselors
use a
do
computer.
in
If
helping
you're using a
students.
phone,
So
you want
thank you to
earbuds.
every
Or
guidance
sometimes,
counselor out
apparently,
there,
they do have trouble
for the
working with StreamYard.
tireless and selfless work that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Brinton.
I have quite a few tonight.
Oh,
Much like Mr. Cambick, I want to say in memoriam to Gary Smith, who was my principal when I went to Redland. I'm not always sure he appreciated my antics as the class clown of the class of '86, but may he rest in peace.
who's speaking in the red shirt?
I attended Eric's viewing as well.
David
and
Brinton.
saw a lot of familiar
Oh, is he
faces in the
speaking into
Redland
the
wrestling
microphone?
community. It's a sad day
Correct.
when you have to go and see those people on such a
Well, I don't
sad
think
occasion.
David needs a microphone because David's
Per what
loud.
Mr. Trone said, I'd like to recognize our district's school counselors. My father was a school counselor for 35 years
Okay.
in the
David,
East
we
Pennsboro
appreciate you
School
speaking
District.
into the mic.
He
You want to keep
retired
the
as
air
the
off of it, though.
district-wide head of the guidance program there. And I just, just wanted to recognize him. Also wanted to recognize Matt
Who
Jones.
passed?
Matt was a member of the 1990 Redland State Championship baseball team. He picked up his 600th win as a college baseball coach. And he's at Shippensburg University. I also want to wish the best
I'm not sure exactly
to all
what.
our wrestlers who will begin sectionals tomorrow.
Somebody's
Both
on
the
community
boys
team pass, and I guess
team
they
at
were very
Redland and
either
Cedar
active in
Cliff,
the
as well as
school
our
or they
girls
were a
team.
teacher or a coach of some sort.
And
Yeah.
I might be stealing Dr. Stoltz's thunder here, but I recognized her once before. So Raina Johnson, who is now qualified to be a national merit finalist, only 1% of PSAT test takers have achieved this honor. Thank you.
Oh, he's gonna make me cry.
Thank you, Mr. Brinton. Any other shout outs this evening? Just Dr. Stoltz.
Just one real quick. You guys know I'm a musical person. I can't sing, but I love going to musicals. Newcomer Middle School is having Beauty and the Beast.
I can never hear Cambick when he talks.
February 21st and 22nd.
Is that Cambick or is that the communist?
Looking forward to taking my little granddaughter to see that.
Oh, okay, that's
Redland,
Cambick.
I bought my tickets
I can't
already
tell.
for the Addams Family.
That's Cambick.
musical, February 27th, 28th, March 1st, and 2nd. And then Cedar Cliff will have Les Miserables come March 13th.
What's funny is they don't even these shout outs.
So I'll be all
You'd think that they, at least the shout outs, they would be speaking into the
but,
microphone.
I'll definitely
Like the
enjoy it.
important stuff they'd want people to hear at least.
And it shows in these productions they do.
Dr. Stoltz.
Thank you, Mrs. Brent. I have three tonight. One is an overlap of a previous one, but I want to also draw my own attention to it. It's hard to believe, but we've already passed the 100th day of school. So if you follow on social media, you saw lots of representations of the number 100 in honor of that. My biggest
100
thanks
days
to
of
all
school and they haven't
district
learned a
staff for
thing.
their efforts to make this year successful. And in that spirit, last week was also National School Counseling Week. Our counselors provide support and guidance with students' academic, social, emotional, and for the older students, future career needs as well. I'd like to thank our school counselors for their leadership and dedication to helping all of our students in the district. Mr. Glantz brought this up at the facilities committee meeting yesterday, but I'd like to mention it here too. This week's snow served as our 12th day in which buildings and ground staff had to prepare our facilities for winter weather, which is more than the past few years. We're only in the second week of February. I hope Phil is,
Listen, I don't want
I'd
to sound
like to
like
thank
I
them
don't
for
want to
their
sound like one of those
dedication
old
to
heads who
ensuring our
said, when I
sidewalks and
used to go
parking
to
lots are
school,
safe
but
to walk
like
on, which
we
often
used to,
means
I
the
used to,
crews start well before
one year
sunrise and stay late to
our
do
school
so.
year ended up going
In
all the way
addition to
until the
that, I
beginning of
also gave
July
a shout out yesterday at the committee meeting
because
to
we had so many snow
transportation.
days.
It's
They had
hard
to start
enough on
tacking
any
them on
given
to the end
day
of the
to
year.
drive a big yellow bus when it's empty on dry roads. But you load that full of students and you do that even in the
I mean, I'm all
slightest
for virtual days.
Okay,
challenging
comments. I didn't
weather
see.
and
I'm sorry,
becomes
everybody who's been leaving.
increasingly
Anybody's
more
been leaving.
difficult
Only
to do so,
if
but we're glad for our
we
partners
run
to
out
do as
of
well. And all of our
scheduled
drivers.
days. Like,
And then finally,
what's
as
the
Mr.
point
Thomas
in not
mentioned,
giving these
this
kids
Saturday is School Resource Officer
a snow
Appreciation
day?
Day. The district
I
They're
agree.
already
employs
built.
I
two
totally
They're already
agree.
escalators
built
and
into the
several
calendar.
school
If we
security
run out or
guards
we get a
to ensure
blizzard,
that our
I
students are
understand
safe
that. That's
every
one thing.
day and
But
often
give these
coordinate
kids
with
a
local law
day. Like,
But if
why
I
can't
am
we go
day
correct,
and
Asian
night.
Day tomorrow?
We have some of them here this evening
if
watching
I'm
over our
correct,
board meeting
Brandy,
as well.
aren't we
So
on
please
their
join me in thanking them
probation
for
for
their
attendance in the West Shore School District? I know that Cedar Cliff is one of the schools that is in trouble with the
come
state
on,
due to
Mr.
attendance.
Greenlee, you can do better than that. There you go.
I
That's
don't
all right.
know, but I
Thank you to
got a
Mr.
letter in the mail
Greenlee,
today from the
Ms.
school
Pegg, and
because
of course, Mr.
apparently
Ryan
I didn't hand in
Beck.
her,
Thank you all.
sixth
And
grade
that's it.
doctor's appointment, stuff. And I thought that
Thank
they were
you.
sending me something about her attendance because she had just missed an entire week of school because
the
she was
public?
sick. And then she missed again
Public
yesterday
comment
because she had
provides
a
an
stomach
opportunity
ache.
for our
I
community
was waiting
to
for it.
address the board. Each speaker
Oh,
will be
chief.
allotted 4
Celeste,
minutes.
thank you for the information.
Board will
Thank you
listen
for
to
tuning in.
comments from
And I,
individuals who
hand
filled
shovels
out
to
a
the
written
ISS
form.
kids might
To
not
maintain
be
order and respect
out of the realm.
throughout
I
the
mean, it
evening,
sounds
I
like a good
ask
idea to
that
me.
everyone present conduct themselves
Okay,
respectfully
we're getting
and
into
show
public comment
consideration
now.
to those who are speaking.
Oh Lord, here
First, we
goes the
have the
circus. Let's see
opportunity
what
for
happens.
Oh, is this
students
the
to
one
speak
where
on
people get to
business
come up and
items.
address the board?
We have no students
Correct.
this evening.
So this is where the fireworks begin.
Mhm.
Now we have an opportunity for comments from the public. Dr. Argout, do we have any public?
We do.
Thank
We
you.
have no electronic
about that.
public comments at all tonight.
Okay,
Would you like me to just keep the cards like I did last month?
please.
Sandra Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Okay, Sandra
Here we
Gonzalez. Shout outs from the
Welcome.
Boiling Point podcast. to Sandra
Sandra.
Gonzalez. Here we go.
This should be good.
am glad to see that you all are reviewing some of our policies that I think are antiquated. And I am particularly glad at this board policy 109. Anything and everything you guys can do to scrutinize very, very closely resource materials that are being taught or given or used for our students here in the West Shore School District, or even for teacher training, I think is critical. In these times, parents want to know that you guys are watching out for what's coming across our children's educational learning. Things that maybe seem harmless at a glance, when you begin to delve in and look more closely at it, are sometimes inappropriate for our children. And I really appreciate you guys grabbing a hold of this and scrutinizing resource material more closely. And anything that you guys can continue to do where policy is concerned, where you're scrutinizing more closely and then amplifying that to the public and explaining that to us as to what you're revamping, how you're revamping it, why you're revamping it, is greatly appreciated by parents. Parents feel like they have to really delve into things to try to figure out what their children are being taught or what they're being provided with. And I know we've got the right to know and all this, but you know how busy parents are. And it's very unfortunate that we don't have more of that flowing from our parents in the district. However, you guys getting ahead of this with policy is very, very helpful. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now
That's
watch
the
them
end of
label her
the
as
business
a book
items
banner.
public comments.
Positive words from Sandra tonight. She was encouraging to the school board. That's
Yes,
not usually
yes,
how
she
it
was.
goes.
Are there any board reports this evening? Mrs. Cox.
Yeah, the curriculum committee met in January. We discussed the online curriculum.
which is getting the curriculum put online out to the public. Progress on selection of curriculum management tool. We discussed how the instructional team has met with 3 vendors. The 3 vendors are EDU Planet 21, Power School, CNI, and Atlas. Of most importance is security with the curriculum. The hope is to begin importing information before the end of this year. The committee was informed that Atlas is used by Dallastown and Derry Township School District. So if anybody is interested, you can view it on their website right now if you're interested in looking at it. The recent Power School breach was briefly mentioned, but it did have no effect on West Shore School District's Power School. And that was again confirmed at the CAIU at my meeting that I was at the Capital Area Intermediate Unit. We also discussed professional development planning for 25-26. AI is one topic, as well as PDE requirements. Summer Academy planning will begin shortly. It already has begun. With polling to the staff to determine PD interest and needs. Cedar Cliff High School, we discussed the targeted support improvement, the TSI. Assigned TSI for the 2nd consecutive year. This is the lowest tier of the correction plan. The targeted group this year being English learners, which make up approximately 5.2% of the population. There are 2 teachers and 2 aides assigned to support this population, and we're continuing to find ways to meet their expectations for this audience. We also discussed plans to identify social and employment skills program for secondary program grades 7 through 11. Hopeful to have a recommendation for a program during the school year 25-26 with a possible rule out for beginning 26-27. And budgeting for this program will be 26-27. And these are just very not definite dates. These are just wishful, hopeful dates. And that was it.
Thank you. Mrs. Tierney.
Mrs. Thomas, are you sure? Yeah, I thought you were going this way.
see you over there. It's okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I blocked up a lot of.
Well, I will never pause when it comes time to talk about the West Shore Foundation. And the first thing
She will never pause when it's time to talk, period.
Listen, I know where this is going already. I'm going to walk away for this segment. So, Mariana, I'm going to leave you to hold the reins of the show for a minute so I can not hear her speak at all.
We're made aware, so I want you to know what we did.
Put me in charge,
And
poor
we
man.
awarded 8 grants totaling $13,274.69.
Better than what I'll do, man. I'll just
And
mute the
3
whole thing
more
for a
requests
couple
came
minutes.
in that were picked up to be paid for with title funds. So that was nearly an additional $3,000 that we granted the request, but not with the foundation funds. Our title funds, which are our federal funds, were used to satisfy those grants. And some of the things that were approved were Janelle Bing. I apologize in advance if I mess up any names, but you all spent the time working applications, and I think you ought to be recognized. Janelle Bingaman and Carrie Livingston with large print and braille books for Fairview, Old Trail.
Janelle
and
Bingaman
Redmond.
is one of those minions that Abigail Turney
Mia
uses to get the
Bearfield, and that was $720.
left
Mia
out to these
Bearfield
meetings.
is for a sensory hallway at Ross Moyne, and that was $646.
She's a board member at another school.
And she's very dangerous. She's very dangerous. There's been allegations that's been made against our school board in which Janelle has had her hands in it along with Abigail Turney, but that's for a future show because there's a lot of truth that's going to be exposed very soon right here at the boiling point.
Sit down.
Jennifer Heverling and Sarah Bauer.
I'll tell you
Her
this,
son,
ladies, right to nose or something.
Self-regulation at Hillside.
her son is my son's buddy for baseball.
Did
Okay.
a check-in, check-out program.
And Carolyn visits her quite often
The
for, when they do Character Strong in the classroom. That's where they send her.
Surprising.
Instruction support. Thank you. And it's a
What?
great way to, in a positive manner, encourage good behavior. Then they were thrilled to have it. This one was a ton of fun, all about that base. And it was to the elementary instrumental instructors. So that's Kate Bright, Aria Garling, Abby Gable, Marion Galanti Odison, and Caitlin Graft, and they are getting a bass xylophone to be used in lessons at every school building where we have elementary students, which is exciting. Then Kelsey Hartman, Braylon Dell, Jennifer Foreman, Kelly Stussy, Jessica Tack, Leaf Johnson, and Bambi Arnold. $1,800
And I will continue to
for
say that
sensory
this lady that's
stations
speaking
at
is
Old
the
Town.
cause of the
Again,
division.
enhanced
Her and some other
accessibility.
people, but mainly her, that there is amongst the
And
parents here in the West Shore
Aaron,
School District.
I'm never going to say this one right.
Because it's about
Aaron
furthering her agendas.
and Kayla
Accurate
Bernia for Tony's for
witness.
Teachers, which I'm hoping for
Mhm.
anyone that comes to the gala, we like to show what these bright ideas were in a hands-on opportunity, and we encourage that. That one's a really interesting thing, and we encourage
Don't eat the
them to come
desserts
and
at the
show that
gala.
at the gala.
That's
Which
all I'm
leads me
saying.
into another. Today is Galatine's Day. No, tomorrow is, but the day before Valentine's Day is Galatine's Day. And that's when we
Galatine's Day.
announce the next year gala, which is Saturday, October 18th. The theme is oh so appropriate, and we picked the theme before we have announced who we're honoring, and it's Light Up the Night, which will be a ton of fun. And we are honoring, every year we honor an alumni.
What you think, Brandy? You
And
want to
this
go to the
year we are
gala?
honoring Cedar Cliff graduate Charles Stone,
I'd rather poke
who
myself in the
is a
eyeballs.
renowned lighting engineer. He has worked on projects
What
all
is the
over
gala?
The West Shore
from
Regional, they have these galas around
and if
Halloween
you're
and this
aware
time,
of the
these
light
celebrations
part of
that
the
all the
memorial for
libtards of
9/11,
Cumberland County go
that
to
was
celebrate how
happening that
wonderful
he
and
hosted. So
powerful
it
they
will
are.
be a great
And you do not want to eat the
conversation to come
desserts.
and celebrate
Jonathan, if they ever invite you,
and
do not
all
eat the
the bright
desserts.
ideas going on in this area. The last thing is the one closest in time, and that's putting students first, May 3rd, at Creekside at Liberty Forge Mini Golf. And you'll be getting, everyone will be getting more information, specific information about that very, very shortly.
Come on, let's go to the
We are
gala, all of
looking
us.
for
Make their
sponsors for
hair
that
explode.
event and also players.
If I go, I'm going with my
Anybody
podcast
that
shirt
would
on and a
like
camera, and I'll stand
two
outside.
There you
rounds of
go, not going with
the
a microphone.
tournament, and it's a ton of fun. So May 3rd, mark your calendar.
And Christian
Look out for
cookies.
the additional
You know what I mean,
details.
Denise?
October 18th, mark your calendar for
Because
Light Up
theirs
the
will make
Night.
me levitate.
And thank you
It's too
very
bad I
much
don't have the
to everyone who
American.
supported
I have a
American
cross
cross.
event
cut
and allowed
out.
us to do the educator grant distribution this year. It's wonderful.
It's a good time to plug our American Cross apparel design on our storefront, bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point Podcast. Go and pick yourself up our, we have the American Cross design. It's all, the American Cross is also on our Second Amendment apparel as well. So feel free to grab some of that. And we just put it on a camouflage sweatshirt, which is expensive. It is expensive, but it is very, very high quality.
Dylan Justin Allen from Redland High School and Carvon Anthony Seegers from Cedar Cliff. It was a very proud moment to be a part of one of the students' speakers. They had, I think, 3 or 4 students that spoke, but one of the student speakers expressed how YAA has embraced him while he was there and how the staff there are like a smaller community and who help each other. And this type of environment had been so important to him to be engaged, to graduate. I know we'll be talking this evening about the YAA operating budget. I believe the money we spend there is money well spent. Mrs. Ackerman is very conscious of our tax dollars that are sent there. And I believe there's 14 other school districts that, or a total of 14 school districts that participate. And it was a really nice, eventful night. And there was a policy meeting on the 16th, and I'll give that report next week.
They just mentioned the policy meeting next week, Mariana. What's on the, let's use that as an opportunity to talk about what's on the agenda for next week.
Okay, so for next week, in the policy meeting, they will be speaking about protecting the girls from having men in their sports. We are also pushing for, now it won't be next week to my understanding, the one about the bathroom policy, but we need to push for that bathroom policy really, really hard because there's push against the bathroom policy.
round by round. So I will defer to you unless Mr. Trone wishes to jump
Now, is that
in.
going to be the policy meeting, or is that going to happen in the school board meeting? Is that going to be
Very
policy
thorough.
discussed in the school
Mr.
board
Thorough,
meeting?
It
Mr.
usually happens
Gaswhite,
in the
just
policy meeting, and then all the fight and fallout is in the school board meeting.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
So we might
Now
need,
the
so
policy
maybe,
meeting's what, 4:30? 4:30?
Yep. 4:30.
all right, so maybe we do our live stream next week. Maybe we start a little earlier to try and get some of the policy meeting. Is that recorded also?
Yes.
No.
changes.
Or did they start doing it?
No, they started recording it. It's recorded.
Okay, good.
Mic on, sir.
When Brian Geiswhite was president, it wasn't recorded, remember? They didn't even use microphones.
Correct. Because I went to a couple and asked
No, I guess
Dr. Arbat, and he said, no, we don't
takeaway is
record
we have a meeting
committee
coming up
meetings.
on Tuesday.
And we don't turn
So
on
you
the mics
don't.
either.
And if you've been following along at
No.
home with these meetings,
No.
we kind of set some guardrails for ourselves on some timing and some things that we wanted to accomplish. One of those was to solicit an RFP for busing services.
Oh, that's
and
Lemonhead
the
talking.
Last meeting was a rather long meeting to review the RFP.
Lemonhead, that's Brian Geiswhite. Because he always looks like he's sucking a lemon.
To tailor that RFP to the district. And it was a collective effort. And kudos to the committee and Mr. Sanders for their patience, and of course, Dr. Stoltz and Mr. Gay for their patience with me. But the key takeaway is on next Tuesday, we have a committee meeting in this room at, what is it, 5:30? 5:30. And earlier that day is the deadline for bids. We had a pre-bid meeting. And how many vendors did we have attend, Mr. Sanders?
We had four vendors that attended our pre-bid meeting.
Now, that doesn't mean we're going to
Okay, ladies, so what are the chances that these guys are going to get the transportation correct for the next coming year?
Yeah, and I mean, for what it's worth, all four of
Are we
them
talking about the
submitted
next
questions
school year
for
already?
follow-up, so there's at least some level
Yeah,
of
we've always had
consideration
an
being
issue
made by all
with the
four
buses picking up the kids. They just don't show up. They go to the
long
to
and
the
short
wrong
of it
stops. They
is,
don't know where they're
1 o'clock
going.
next
Yeah.
Tuesday is the
I remember that
official
happened at the
They're
beginning
from
of
out
this
of
year.
state.
And then next week,
Yeah,
next
drivers from
Tuesday
out of
night in
state.
our committee
Yeah.
meeting, we are going to review the bids
Yeah.
that we received at a high level. So stay tuned.
They weren't able to
Thank
get
you.
the
Any
bus
other
routes
board
straight.
reports?
So what are the chances they're going to get them straight this year? I mean,
Next
I'm
up is business
I'm
items.
praying.
A reminder to please remain quiet as the board deliberates to discuss the business items on our agenda.
Okay, so now we're going into business items.
Yes.
Mandy, personnel?
Madam President, I move that we approve the following personnel agenda items. Item 5A1 through item 5A13. Can I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
Resignations.
it's going around the table.
We got a second. And now we need to vote.
Yes, thank you, producer of the West Shore School
be
District,
considered
for
a roll call
scrolling so
vote?
fast that anybody watching can't see any of
All
this.
members will be recorded
Thank
as
you.
voting in favor unless otherwise
Extremely
noted.
helpful. Excellent.
Motion passes 9-0.
You're on point with your production, whoever you are.
I can possibly get a copy of that for later and we can post it
5B.
somewhere.
I'm sure it's likely on the website. We can probably grab it. Make sure you go check out the
Yeah, it
West Shore
is.
District website. We'll try and get the links and post it on our social media.
Okay. Well, we want to welcome you to the West Shore School District.
Those poor people don't know what they're in for.
5B. Revised Board Policy 109 Resource Materials.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of School Directors approves revisions to Board Policy 109 Resource Material and authorizes submittal to PSBA to be placed in Board Policy Manual format.
Second.
So moved.
So, oops, there's the second.
If those two second and move this, something's up with
I
that.
appreciate the promotion.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mrs. Cox?
I would like to see this brought back to the policy committee because after reviewing it personally over the last couple of weeks, I think there's some things that I would like to look at again
Yes, Brenda.
more into detail.
Woo,
It's
woo!
not changing what is being added now, but we might as well just bring it back and look at it now and talk over some of the other parts of it that I wanted to discuss.
So, all right, I'm going to mute the meeting just for a
Any further
second for our
discussion?
viewers. What is this that they're discussing that they want to bring back off the table to discuss?
This is
Is
about
it-
resource material, and I guess they're trying to pass these resource material without really being looked at, or there's questions that some of the board members have. You see, rule of thumb: anytime that Abigail Turney says, "Let's pass it," she motioned for, and Adam Trone seconded it. There's something they're trying to slip through, and something that Brenda Cox must have caught that she wants to review again.
I would like to see to be promoting material that provides rich
I did tell
educational
Kelly
value over
that,
material that provides
you know, you and I
similar
both noticed
value,
that
but I
pattern with
also
those
want to
two,
put in
and
place
to please let the
some
other
age
conservative board
appropriate
members know. So hopefully she did.
content standards under the controversial subjects. And so my vote is no, but I'd like to see it go back to the policy committee. Thank you.
Okay, good. So there's some controversial subjects, okay, or material
discussion?
that they're going to review. So
Good.
that's interesting, the word controversial.
Barbara, would you come aboard?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Britton.
Controversial.
Aye.
Are they trying to get it so that all resource
Junior.
material is available
Is the aye
online?
to referring it
Correct.
back to the committee? Is that?
The motion was to approve it. So I translated Mr. Britton's as a yes on approving it.
Gotcha. Aye.
See, they're trying to
Mr.
push it
Geiswett.
through. Wow.
Yes.
Don't
Mrs.
bend,
Davis.
Brenda.
You gotta know.
No.
Mr. Cambick.
Yes.
That potato head.
Mrs. Thomas.
No.
Mrs. Cox.
No.
Mr. Trone.
Yes.
Of course.
Mrs. Brent.
No.
5-4, it passes in its current version.
It passes?
That doesn't
Yes,
mean the
because
committee
David
can't
Brenton
talk
said
about it
yes.
At some point in the future, but I will move these changes through the process.
Thank you, Dr. Argot.
So David Breton just voted yes, and he's one of the.
Mr. Brinton?
Hold on.
I would just encourage the board members, as a former policy chairman, that you're able to submit information or maybe changes that you'd like to see as these things come before the committee.
I'll be right back.
Just something to consider.
So that's the guy who just voted yes.
Mr. Brinton.
He's supposed to be a conservative, but he just voted yes to pass this through.
Correct.
Okay, David Britton.
Madam President, I would like to take the next several as one block. Item 5C, 5D, 5E, 5F, 5G, 5H, 5I, 5J, 5K, and 5L as one action.
Is that a formal motion, Mr. Cambick?
I move we do 5C through 5I,
As
or
approved.
5L as a single action.
As you're motioning that we approve.
We
all of
approve it as was, yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Now we can have discussion. Mr. Brinton?
Yeah, I have several questions on all these different ones. This first one will be for Mrs. Boone. On item D, the money is coming from the food service financial reserves. Once we expend the amount for the walk-in coolers and freezer, can you tell me what would be left in that account then?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Argot.
Thank you. We have to go through a process of financial reporting to the state every year. And with the way stimulus funds went, we are actually about $600,000 more in the account than we're supposed to have. So this is working on spending down the excess cash reserves. We'll have the full financial report as far as the numbers in next week's monthly financial report, but our account's in the neighborhood of 2 million in that budget.
Thank you. Some other?
Hold on one second, David.
yeah.
What I'm kind of hoping to do here is take it one letter at a time down.
Okay.
Okay, so,
That's all I had for D.
okay, does anyone else have anything for 5D? Okay. 5E, does anyone have any comments for 5E? Mrs. Cox?
Yeah, when I was reviewing the agreement and everything, I noticed on the second page, under 2, program requirements, it says that the school agrees to support and provide the facilities, services, and school staff necessary to make the program successful. So I saw that it's at New Cumberland Middle School. What is the staffing?
We like to have a staff participate with group. They run grief groups. Highmark runs grief groups, so we'll put a counselor or another staff member to help coordinate it and to support that.
Is this a paid position or do they volunteer?
The staff members who participate are doing it as part of their workday. It's usually a school counselor.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else for this item? Mr. Brinton?
Well, mine are for actually E, F, and G. I was just interested in knowing the number of students or families that partake in each of these different activities, if we have that.
5E will be hard to quantify. Kids are invited based on experiencing loss. But we generally, so that's the Highmark Caring Place Agreement where they help provide group for kids experiencing grief. So the number is driven by the number of students who counselors refer who are experiencing loss. Typically, there's a minimum number that we like to go with to bring that service there. 5F, the Drug and Alcohol Commission will provide school-wide training or specific grade level training. There's some flexibility there. It's typically large group though. They can work with large groups. We can work with a whole population if we choose to.
Do they do any one-on-one? Like if there's a certain.
That's not the normal. That's not the delivery service of that group.
Gotcha.
It's not really one-on-one service.
Yeah.
I don't mean they'll never speak to us, but they don't counselors.
Gotcha.
Everstand is based on the number of students who I think we're at 2 right now. I'm not sure how many they've gotten. I think I know of 2. Dr. Argott might know if we have more at Everstand. Everstand is a very small group of students, although we have word that it could increase potentially depending on refugee relocation if they come to our district. But it's a pretty small group. Do you have any other information, Dr. Argott?
Not with specific numbers. It's not as big as it used to be. It used to be Methodist Home for Children.
Well, that was a different population too.
It was, and there's some of the youth that live at Everstand that don't come to us.
I was going to say that's in Mechanicsburg School District, correct?
No, it's ours.
It's ours now?
Yes.
Always been.
Okay.
Slow around.
Because I know, the
It used to
clientele
be,
has
the
changed.
education used to be done by Mechanicsburg, but it was found that it was in our district.
Okay.
With regard to new federal legislation, is there anything through that program that could risk our federal funding at all?
We haven't seen anything yet. I verified actually shortly before this meeting that the Office of Refugee Resettlement, I think that's their website's still active. It looks like it still exists. If we got directive to discontinue or if legal said gave us some direction or advice, we would take that into consideration. But at this point, that's not the case to our knowledge.
And for all 3 of the different services, there's no cost to the district. Is that correct?
There would be, Ryan, there would be a cost for our educating students. Well, Everstand reimburses us. There's no cost for the first 2 for certain.
Yeah, when I reviewing and I couldn't necessarily see for the third one.
Everstand, we're responsible for educating kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be a cost. It'd be the cost of educating a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't think we have much of a choice on that.
Madam President, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brinton. Does anyone else have any questions on, let's just say, E and F? No? I just wanted to point out that, again, Highmark Carrying Place is no cost to our district. And I contacted some officials at Cumberland County, and Cumberland Perry Drug and Alcohol Commission is a federally and state funded commission, and then those funds go through the county. So that's not really a local tax. Okay, let's talk about G. Everstand, anyone?
You did that.
Is that it? Okay, anyone else with Everstand? Okay. And H, David Bateman speaker agreement. Anyone? Okay.
So
I,
the revised policy they were
Mrs.
speaking
Cox, is our
about was
appointment
the
for
library
vocabulary and
policy
media unit
that
director.
will allow Stoltz
J,
and whatever teacher he chooses to choose the
2025-26
library
North
material
Adams
to bring the
Academy
kids
operating
back
budget.
to 21st century citizenship.
5K, 2025-26 school calendar. Any discussion, Mr. Brinton?
I just wanted to say that there were some folks that came to me with regard the time of the graduation ceremonies and being over at the farm show and the different traffic problems that were had last year. I discussed it with Dr. Stoltz, and I just wanted to let them know that I'd passed their concerns on to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and just to piggyback off that for just a second, I don't think there's a way around the traffic with graduation over at the farm show. I just feel like that's something you're just going to have to build into your schedule. I hate to say it, but no matter what route you take, you're going to be waiting at the lights. So, and then lastly, 5L, amendment to agreement of easement. Any discussion? Okay. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. All members will be.
So what do we want to hear,
in favor
Mariana?
unless otherwise noted.
Do we want a yes vote or a no vote on this
9-0.
one?
Thank you, everyone, for the comments on that. Number 6, information items.
Do we lose Mariana? Looks like she's having some
That's all
lag.
right.
Preoccupied.
We lost Denise. We might be losing Mariana.
Give me just a moment here to
I'm here.
switch over to where we're at on
Yes,
next week's agenda.
I'm here.
Do we want a positive vote for this
One
one?
of the things I will point out, Mr. Brinton, relative to the
What for
question
the
that you
for the
asked,
revision
I think it
policy?
was the one that you
Yeah.
asked on the food services. The
For the
fund,
one that they
status
passed
of the
that
funds
David
once
Brinton
those
said
taken
yes to, that was the one that
each
the
month
parents
on the
sent a
second
letter
meeting of the
to the
month.
school
And
board
that's
letting
item
them
that
know
is
that
the
we do not
treasurer's
feel
report.
that the school
Yeah.
There is an
librarian
attachment
nor
that
the
is always there
superintendent
that
are
is the statement of
qualified to
available
choose the
funds,
library
and
material
that
and
will give
purchase
you
all the
balanced
material within
information
the district.
on
This
that food
particular
services countdown.
superintendent is more of an activist than he is of a superintendent, and the people that he chooses are also
We will have a
activists. So
personnel
what they're
agenda
going to do is
again. We'll
bring
have
more
our typical
garbage
bills
into the
for
school.
approval.
So that should have
We
been a
will have a
no.
real
So
estate
why did
tax
David say
refund
yes? God only knows. But the
that
parents did send a
will
job
be
form
coming
with
through.
signatures
That is
talking
a
against
rather
this.
large tax refund that's coming through. When I say rather large, it's about $70,000, and this is a these were for taxes that were overpaid.
I'd love to get for any of the viewers who are watching, I'd love to have the agenda to be able to have it up on the screen and be able to go through it section by section so that we can help you understand exactly what you're watching with these meetings.
The reduction here is
But
because they should have been paid at face.
they don't release the agenda until what, like 24 hours before the
That's
meeting,
what that
right?
refund is all about next week.
24 hours before, correct.
And why it's current.
Yeah,
And it's
so-
just for the current year. So you get a scale for penalty and how much that total. So if the penalty was 70,000, right? The total sum of these parcels is quite a bit of tax revenue for the district. And these are commercial properties. Okay. We have a couple of one or two budgetary transfers, which are very typical. We're moving money from one account to another to cover costs or for additional use.
Denise is having technical difficulties.
We have a rather
She might not
lengthy
be back.
professional leave agenda for staff attendance at professional meetings next week. a couple of change orders related to the intermediate school, and I'll ask.
This is
Mr.
the
Sanders if
policy
he
that
could
they
just
said yes
speak
to,
very
guys.
briefly
The
to it
legal
coming forward.
responsibility for the purchase of all material rests with the district, but the responsibility for the selection of the material is delegated to the school library, and big mistake of the district, subject to the approval of the superintendent or designee. That is a big mistake. We know that Tostos is an activist, and we know that Tostos have helped high pornographic graphic novels, that they call it graphic novels, in the school, and even have denied the existence of it
We're actually getting a little
when
bit
it's still
cheaper.
there.
Thank you.
And Dr. Argot is in the mood to replace equipment. So he had a couple of units that have been added for purchase and installation, like we saw here tonight. One is for a combi oven at is that at Cedar Cliff?
Yes, sir.
And the other one is a Cleveland Range steamer, and that is going to go to Fishing Creek, I believe.
And we're tired of saying that this administration cannot be trusted. We have to clean up this administration.
Could be.
We followed the official federal procurement regulations.
That's the best answer right there. So, and again, those will use the financial reserves.
Is the new solicitor sit at the table?
Yes, he is actually next to David Brenton, who has the red shirt. Then we have the taco eating dragon superintendent we have talking right now, and the one in the middle is the solicitor.
Okay, so he's on the left side there.
Dr. Argot?
Correct.
Madam President, we have 5 policies that have been looked at by the policy committee over the past couple of meetings, have been to legal counsel, and are now back to put on public display. We'll bring them back in March, hoping to get your support to support those revisions.
Thank you.
Now, among the one they're going to speak in March, it's going to be the bathroom policy.
Recognition of the public.
Here we
Madam
go. The
President.
public's going to speak again.
Student success.
I'm missing something. I'm so sorry. Oh, I don't have this on mine, Ryan. Okay. Student success. Let me see here. Presentation. I'm so sorry. It's not on my documents. I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord, it's Matthew Gay. Look how wonderful we are, and
I
the
knew
scores
about
on the
this.
floor.
I
Watch.
wondered what happened.
Every year we go through this. Look how wonderful we are. Woo, woo, and the scores are on the floor.
Thank you so much, folks, for having us. You know, it's so important. The work that you do is grounded at first in learning and teaching, right? That's our first business. Everything else we do is in support for student learning. We want safe schools so kids can learn. You approve mental health.
We're still
programs and
waiting for
supports
safe schools.
so kids are better able to learn. We make sure we have ovens so we can feed kids so they're able to learn. The most important work we do is founded on learning and teaching. And so
Who's talking
Lord,
right
here we
now?
go. That's Matthew Gay, the assistant superintendent. We go through this every year,
So I'm gonna go
in
get
which
my
he gets the slideshow to show how we are the head of all the
Madam
dummies.
President,
Okay,
are you
because
able to
if
pull
somebody
the
is
presentation
ranking
up on the
19 and we're
computer?
25, we're the head of all the dummies.
You do?
I'm dying to see what this looks like this year. Last year it was the
Just 1 minute.
fault, the bad grades and the bad scores was the fault of the disabled kids
didn't start my
and the
time.
minority kids. Let's see what this
Oh,
year's going to
We
be like.
did.
Yes, as someone who's
Well
disabled,
done.
as someone who's disabled, I absolutely love being
Mr. Brenton, you give me the go and I'm ready.
blamed for low scores. That's great.
Yeah,
So
he'll
thank you
find
for
who to
having
blame
me.
it
I
on.
appreciate it.
And
We're
it's
gonna
on
start
record. I
through
could
some
probably
basic
find the video where he
indicators of
said it.
success. We're going to talk some hard data about state growth and achievement. Also, we're going to look at that at the district and building level. We're going to look at our achievement plan. Go ahead,
Here
Mr.
we go.
Vogelsong. I think it's important to note before we start that this data is only a portion of the story of what we do with kids. And I'll revisit that at the end. We do an awful lot
Look at
that's
those
not
scores,
reported
guys.
in
Look at those
data, like a
scores.
test, right? Well, these one-time tests, once a year tests. So I think it's important to remember that. Our first look will be elementary PSSA data. This is for ELA. That's our first thing. You'll see on the left-hand side column that those are all of our elementary schools. And I track data. I use the benchmark of the 2019 school year
Oh, yeah,
because that's the
2019.
pre-COVID year. 2020, there were no tests. That was the COVID year. And then 21 through 24 is where we are, and highlighting
Well,
grades.
the numbers on their way down
19
since
is what I
2019.
try to look at as a
I mean, look at the numbers, but
and
watch
that's
him
a
go.
real
Woo-hoo!
common practice. If you listen to the kind of narrative about the
Wow,
recently
what the hell
released
is
NAEP
happening in Fishing
assessments,
Creek?
the nation's report card, the talk is about where are we in response to pre-COVID performance. So that's what I use as a benchmark.
And red nickel.
Where you see highlighted green, so in the far right, 5th grade ELA at Fairview, at Hillside,
Newberry, too.
Those are
They're
schools that
horrible. Look at
this
them. They're all
year, their
horrible.
performance
But he's going to try to
was
convince you
higher
that this is
than
good.
the 2019 school year, right? So they met or eclipsed pre-pandemic performance. There may have been other years since the pandemic where they also eclipsed pre-pandemic performance. But
This is the biggest number drop. The biggest number drop on the
this
third
gives me
grade
target
level
areas.
is
So I have
Fishing
really
Creek.
two targets. When I'm working
From
with schools, I'm
2019
thinking,
to
what's
2024,
our
it's dropped
benchmark?
19
What's our
points.
target? I'm looking at first. Let's make sure we're
Only 2 of them
eclipsing
went up,
state.
and that was
That's my first
Fairview
one. Let's make
and,
sure we're
I mean,
outperforming the state.
Hillside went up,
And
but
then my second one is
Not
let's get
by,
to
not that much. It's
pre-pandemic
nothing to
performance
celebrate.
levels. And we're
but
working
I mean, it
really
was
hard
only
to get
5th grade
there.
that went up.
I think one of the things you'll note, we'll make a little bit more conversation about this, is our efforts in ELA. We've made a significant investment in resources with the HMH adoption that you guys approved last year. We appreciate that so much. Lots of professional development to support that. And then we also implemented a kind of a phonics-based program called 95% Core. It's a tier 1. That means all kids get it in the elementary level. So tier 1 means all students get that resource. And we heard from very early on our literacy specialists, especially the ones who are providing
there's only 2
intervention, are saying
numbers
kids
that
are
are
coming in much stronger. They're exiting
that have gone up. They're the ones that are highlighted.
Recently,
Yeah.
In 5th grade are
I'm
the only
looking
ones
forward
that
to
have
getting
gone up.
some real concrete numbers to see where we are compared to previous mid-year benchmarks. But the feeling is very optimistic about what having a program that is grounded in
Fishing
the
Creek.
science of reading.
What is happening in Fishing Creek?
HMH and a resource.
They have
and
the
also
largest
that
drop
kind of
in
ties
3rd
together the
and
science of
4th
reading,
grade.
Pieces into a
Now,
coherent
Jonathan,
program that
it's
really
very optimistic,
we're
Jonathan.
expecting some good growth, and the early reports are
Numbers
really
are not
solid. So I'm
optimistic.
very excited
Who's
about
looking?
that.
If there's a viewer
By the
right
way,
now
this is
watching this
performance
show,
data. You'll also
please
achievement data.
tell
You'll
me
also
that
hear me
these
talk about
numbers look
growth data. So
optimistic, and
achievement is
then
basically
tell me
how
how
the kid
they
performed on a
look
test period,
optimistic, please.
right? That's what we're looking at.
Explain it to me. Like
Then we have elementary.
I mean, like I'm a 5th grader.
PSSA
Like, explain it to me
math
like I'm a
data,
5th grader
and you see
in
more
the West
green
Shore
highlights
School
there.
District,
So we're pretty
please.
pleased with that.
Brandy,
4th grade
core
is
math
killing it.
has
4th
worked
grade
so well.
seems to every one of our buildings last year.
Let's just spell Common Core
met or
literacy. How you
outperformed
like?
pre-pandemic.
Common Core has been a
5th grade,
disaster
we had 4
nationwide.
sites do that as well. So that's
Yes,
heading
it
in the
has.
right direction. Once again,
Look
I
at
would
those
just
I
look
refuse.
at,
I refuse to try to teach
district
Carolyn how
district
they
averages
are
is my
trying to
first
teach
goal.
her.
My
I'm like,
second
no,
one
do
is
it this way.
pre-pandemic performance.
Brandy,
So
can you
this
turn down? I'm sorry, Mariana,
Notice
hold on.
here,
Brandy,
we
can
don't
you
have
turn
intermediate
down
schools. They do
your
exist.
meeting volume?
These
The
were for
volume
tests
of
that
you
were
watching the
taken,
meeting?
element PSSA tests that we're taking in the spring of
Is that better?
2024.
Or is that happening? Is it me or is it
we may not
Mariana?
have been intermediate schools yet, but Fairview Elementary, which no longer
Oh,
exists.
sorry, Brandy, it wasn't you. Mariana, it's you. Can you
Then we
turn
have
your
elementary
meeting volume
science
down just a
PSSA
little
data. Now
bit?
they only take this in 4th grade. So there's 1 year we take
Thank
PSSAs
you.
in science in 4th and 8th
We're just
grade.
getting we were
So
just
you can
getting
see in
some echo off of
2024,
it.
we have 2 sites, Highland and Ross Moyne, that are highlighted because they have eclipsed the 2019
because they got the same number
Again,
they did in
I'm looking
2019.
at
We're gonna
state
highlight that
performance level
and we're gonna
pre-pandemic
cheer it
performance,
on.
my targets. Growth is a different type of metric. These numbers don't reflect actual growth. What they reflect is a conversion.
How failure.
So PDE provides, they take, they look at a student's projected performance level, created through a pretty complicated regression formula, and then how the kid compares to that expectation, right? How a student performs compared to
Okay,
that
so let me
expected level.
rephrase. Let me help everybody
and then
who's
they
watching
convert
right
that
now.
raw data
But
into a
this
numerical
graph
score.
shows you
Higher the
is
score, the greater growth you
absolutely
have.
nothing.
We're
That's
really
what he
pleased. Some
just
of our
said.
sites are
He
really
just
doing
said a
very well.
technical way
I would point out
of telling
a couple
you that
sites.
these
Washington
numbers
Heights
have no bearing in
100,
reality
196.
or existence
Last year they were 100,
whatsoever.
100. 96 is
Correct.
very good. They're doing
Based on an
amazing growth. It's
algorithm
a really
written
interesting model
by
because sometimes
some-
they're on the
by
lower end of
somebody.
achievement,
Mm-hmm.
but they're
Students
the
are
highest end of
expected
growth.
to reach a certain potential.
They
So
tend to be one of the
that's
top
already,
companies
these numbers
in
are crap.
growth
Okay. You can't
performance
project
levels.
someone's potential.
I would also
That's
point
garbage.
your
That's
attention to
complete
Fishing
garbage.
Creek, 100,
Mhm.
186. Phenomenal showing from them. Really proud of that performance. Red Mill's doing a nice job with that as well. And those
Oh,
are our
Denise,
elementary growth data. I tend
Denise
to
is
put
probably
a
having
lot
a
of value
spasm
in
somewhere.
growth data. That
I think
tells
she
us that
wishes she
whoever
could have
walks in
come
the
back
door,
on
right,
and
we
not
are
have to
working
just
hard to
become the viewer with the
exceed
commenters. She said she's
expectations
having
for
some
that
internet
student
problems, so
to
she
be able
doesn't
to
think she's going to
exceed
be able to make it back into the
I
studio.
make
She's
this
trying to
argument.
watch
We
as
will
best she
never
can.
catch students up who aren't kindergarten ready, who come in at a deficit if we don't exceed 1 year of growth. And that's kind of the standard.
So,
The
Jonathan,
standard
this is an
1 year growth.
example of a Common Core math
We have to do
question.
more than 1 year growth.
If
Right?
Billy is
Because if you have
making
kids who
5
come in behind,
pancakes
and we do,
and
right? You
Sue
look at
is
poverty
making
rates, that's
15
going to be an
pancakes,
indicator of students who come
how
in a little
long
bit
did it
behind.
take
There's a
Johnny to
correlation
run all
there.
the way to New
My
York?
goal is that we are growing more than a year,
Common Core
so
math,
that
very simple.
that deficit that a student may have come in with is erased over time because we're growing kids over more than a year's worth every year.
Who's
Middle
this
school
guy?
PSSA data. So we
he's
administer
the,
PSSA.
assistant
superintendent.
Third
Okay,
grade
Sue,
through
what's his
8th
name?
grade.
Matthew
So you're
Gay.
looking at middle school
Matthew
PSSA
Gay.
data. So every middle schooler.
Assistant
So here's the
superintendent of the West
PSSA
Shore
data,
School District.
guys.
It's achievement
Please
score.
watch
You can see
this
those
episode.
performance
Please watch
levels.
this episode back.
The greens
Listen
are
to
where
yourself
Crossroads
and
has
tell me
twice
that you don't
outperformed,
sound like a
met or
jackass.
outperformed pre-pandemic levels. Again, I'm
They
looking at
If there's anybody who's
outperformed
watching who thinks,
pre-pandemic
averages
levels.
as one
if there's
benchmark.
anybody
Randy.
watching
So,
who
for
thinks that
example,
this
6th
guy
grade
is telling you
ELA,
any legitimate
all of
information,
our
let me
schools
just
are outperforming the
dissuade you
state
of that
average.
right now. Okay.
So then my next benchmark is, how are we doing against 2019?
We suck.
There's our math performance. You can see 6th grade math consistently outperforming meeting or outperforming 2019.
Ay,
And
ay, ay.
outperforming, they're all outperforming state average.
Yes, and
They're
7th grade and 8th grade are
outperforming.
not
Look at
doing
this.
anything.
They're outperforming. This is
8th
disgusting.
grade science. Remember, 4th and 8th grade are the 2 science years. So we can see in 2024, the Crossroads group outperformed.
Definitely not doing better since 2019.
No, they're not. They're doing worse. I don't know.
There's
I mean,
one
maybe
number.
he needs my glasses.
That's all these. You should have just
Keystone
left
is a
all the
different
other stats
assessment.
off. That's the only way
Once
anybody
a kid gets
is
to
buying
high
this.
school, and there's an exception that 8th graders and now 7th graders can take the algebra Keystone. They usually do very, very well.
Oh, nothing to highlight on this
But a
screen.
Keystone
Cedar
score
Cliff High
Cedar
School
Cliff
is
went from a
looking at.
62.7 in 2019 to a
These are, generally used for technical
51.5.
courses,
Yeah,
and
there
they're
you go.
aligned to a specific
I don't know what
so there's a
RLHS
biology
There
is,
you
but
go.
that's
There's
Red
Redland
Lake
High
School.
School.
Yeah, of course. I'm an
Redland
idiot.
High School.
10th
Because I'm
graders.
an
And then the
acronym guy.
state average is at the bottom.
And there's an
That
algebra
is the
test.
look at the
Right, so
67.2
one-time test.
But look what I
to
told you.
51.5.
63
there.
state
Again,
average.
I'm
Redland
looking at
67. So they're the chief of all the dummies.
2019 as my benchmark.
Did I tell you
year,
he was going to do that?
And then state averages, I want to outperform state averages. We have some work to do. Let's be very
You have
frank.
some
We
work
have
to
some
do.
work to do.
They have some.
And
He's
that's,
recognizing that you have
that's
some work to do.
that is
Everybody.
happening.
They
Whether
need
He's
to
that's
recognizing
teach.
designing
that.
They need to
curriculum,
leave all this
looking at materials, and
CRT
looking at
stuff and
instructional
this
strategy.
pronoun stuff
And
alone
making sure
and
our
get
folks know
back to
how
classical
use,
teaching. Get
predictive
back to
data,
bringing
whether
scholastic
that's
excellence. We're
projection
tired of
data,
telling these
whether
people this.
that's,
This is
Study
deplorable.
Island
This is unacceptable.
reports.
And this
Study
is
Island is a tool we
disgusting.
use
Our
to
kids are
benchmark
not
students.
prepared for the future,
So
folks.
we have some work to do in these areas. Just like elementary, we have that PVAS growth data. So growth against an expected performance level for an individual student.
Okay,
You can
so
see
for
those
anybody who's
performance
watching right
levels.
now,
I
immediately
need to give a
get
shout
the
out to
meeting growth
Cumberland,
standard.
who has turned
Eliminate
around
that line
their
from this
growth.
graph. That's
Their growth
irrelevant. It's
they
irrelevant
went
data.
up
It
in
doesn't
future
mean
rating index
anything.
indicators. Future rating index gives us 9 indicators of performance and growth, and they went up in 7 out of 9. You can see 100.
They
highest
are
growth
up. These
possible
numbers
in English,
are
79
comparable or
in math and algebra,
above
and
most of the
94
state
in
averages.
science.
That's not something to be
Phenomenal.
proud of. Let's also be clear
like
to our
to share
viewers.
that look at the Cedar Cliff
Pennsylvania's
one, which
state
is a significant
average on
improvement
some
from
of
the
these
previous
scores are
year.
not
Mr. J.
something to be
Yes.
proud of, okay? We want to be
On
well
Absolutely
above
nothing
those
to be proud
scores.
of.
growth standard, is that something set by the state?
Yeah, the state says that an expectation is 70. So if
With
you're earning a
our grading
70,
system, isn't that
kids
failing?
are meeting when the expectation
Yes.
1 year of growth. That's a good question. Thank you.
See, that's why I said the meeting growth standard,
I
eliminate
share
that
this
line
only
because that's
to
just
highlight
crap. All that
what
is a number that they want to put
QE
up
is
there so
saying
that
as a
anybody's above
proficiency
it, they can
target,
say,
what we should
hey,
expect
look,
kids
we're
to
above
be,
it.
achieving at. So The goal, if you go to the far right in 2030,
And here we have some
this is the
projections.
expected performance.
These are the
So what
most
they've done is moved
outrageous
backwards and
and
created like
ridiculous
benchmark levels for every year.
projections
So you
that I've
can
ever
tell
seen.
if your audience is on track. So for 2024,
We're on
our
track. Did you hear that?
expectation,
Okay.
these are
Be
state
right back.
proficiency targets for all students would be that your
I find
students
this
are
comical.
performing at a
English
76.1.
learners are at an 11.7 baseline. And in
You can go
2024, we
down with
did
each subgroup and create
35.5.
a proficiency target for each subgroup.
And they
This
think
data
by
is really important
2030,
for
it's going to be up
TSI
to
and for other indicators, and it gives you
55.9.
a sense of progress
Let me
towards the
explain to
state,
you how your graph doesn't match the
state-created
numbers
goal
before
for
it.
2030.
And in 2018,
Sometimes
they were
you
at
get to the point
15.1.
where
What is
in
happening in,
2025 we've
to the
already met
English
the 2030 goal.
departments in the
Right?
West Shore
And
School
then you feel
District?
great. You have a good program. You have outperformed the expectations set by the state. You're moving along nicely. We have work to do. We have work to do. We have some places where we're exceeding the targets, and we have some places we aren't. So my goal is to get
Stop
us with
feeding out
every
kids
subgroup
pornography and let's get back to
meeting
work,
those
folks.
targets. And I'd like to beat the targets well before 2030. Well before 2030.
Yeah, we'll still be struggling in 2030.
Just a note,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
you
won't
kidding
go
me?
over
You're
too
not going
much,
to get
but
to.
we
Yeah,
use
give me a
the
break.
CDTs. We've
Are you kidding
increased
me
our
right
use
now?
of the CDT. CDT is a classroom diagnostic tool. We're using it in the secondary level. It's a tool that's aligned with Keystone
Exactly.
exams,
Common Core and DEI is
where our
trash.
teachers can
It's
administer
made our
in-class
kids stupid.
assessment that are closely aligned with Keystones, and they can use that as a diagnostic tool. So they can look
Listen, I
and
don't know what
say,
these
"Oh, a
numbers.
kid
I don't know what these
performed like
numbers
this
exactly mean,
on this
but English
practice
learners
test.
at a
I can
9.3
target instruction
baseline.
to this level, a kid or a group of kids."
But
Right?
look at the
Super
projection
useful
for
tool, and I'm really happy
2030.
to see that.
So they're at
Yeah, because it's going to.
43.2. The
Our secondary schools are
projection for
integrated use of
2030
CDTs
is
to
71
help
point. That's still not good, dude.
I think we would be
Still not
remiss if we
good.
didn't talk about TSI at Cedar Cliff. So Ms. Cox referenced it earlier today. Cedar Cliff High School was on TSI. That's Targeted Support and Improvement. That's a designation assigned by PD.
Did you see how
Essentially saying
quickly
we
he
had
moved from
groups
the
of
other
kids
screen?
who
That's
weren't
their
being
online
served quite the way
assessments.
we
I
expected them to
hope
be
they
served.
have parental consent for
Right?
any
Department of Ed
assessment they
creates
give.
benchmarks. You have to meet those performance levels. And we had groups of students who for whom we weren't meeting performance levels, performance expectations. In 23, 24, the timing is very awkward with this. You get
Here we go. Here we go.
in
Okay,
November,
areas for
early
improvement
December
in the population in these areas are
of the
students
year
with
here at
disability,
TSI.
English
So
learner, and
last
Black
year, Cedar
students.
Cliff
Really?
administration found out in late November around Thanksgiving that they were on TSI.
It should just say entire district.
Then they
There you go.
over
But
the
no, they
course
got
of
to
the next
find
6
a
months, they
reason.
created
And
a
this is what
plan.
he's been
That
doing for the
plan
last,
essentially,
3 years?
took over the
That
summer,
is
comes to the
always what
board
he puts
for
down. Okay.
review.
It's
We
the
post
kids
it
with
publicly
disabilities
for a
for
period of time,
the
and then we'll
English
approve
learners
them.
now, because now we have,
That plan is
kids that speak
designed to
Spanish in the
respond
district,
to the needs
and the
as
Black
articulated
students.
in the
Okay.
TSI
And we have kids for
designation.
other languages
23,
also.
24, you can see
Okay.
where we were.
I would like to
right?
also
You
point out
had,
that some of this does have to do
our
with
areas
at
for
home.
improvement
Like
were
it does have
student
parents
growth, regular
have to be
attendance,
involved with
graduation
their
rate,
kids'
and English
education,
language proficiency,
and
and all the
you know,
populations, English learners.
I mean,
all
at
the
this
schools,
point,
Black
I wouldn't be
students,
Here's
relying
another
on the
correction.
short school
we had
districts
all
to teach
4
my
of those
kids anything.
audiences were needing
That's
support and
correct. A
weren't
lot
meeting
of parents have to become more
so they
involved, but
worked very
then
hard in 23,
they
24,
don't
implemented a
bring
plan.
work from school. They do it in
New
school. If
designations
it
came
wasn't
out for
because of
24,
COVID, we
25 in
wouldn't have
November,
known what
and you
our
can
kids were
see
learning.
what
Okay, they are
was
trying to keep the
all of
parents
that
out of all aspects. They don't let the parents see the
is down to
curriculum.
English learners.
You
I'm
gotta
sorry,
jump Mount Everest to be able to see the
just
curriculum.
Yeah,
it's English
I
learners.
had to jump Mount Everest
So
to
we have
get
one
the 6th
population
grade
that we have
ELA
to do work
curriculum.
with. As Ms. Cox said, 5.2%
And I
of the
still don't have
population
all of
is
it
at
because I'm
school
supposed
is
to be able
English
to
learners.
access it on
So
her
it's a
iPad, and I
significant
can't
population. We have to
in
do
her
right by them.
account.
We have to do good work with
They
them.
make
We
it
have
so
work to
difficult for a
improve.
parent that has
But
the right
I think
to
Cedar
see
Cliff
these
deserves a
curriculums,
lot
to
of
see
credit
them.
for very quick, focused effort.
I'm
to
sure they were
make to
pooping their
create
pants though when I
improvements across
emailed
the
them
board.
about the
They'll continue
HMH
working this
curriculum
audience.
since we're
I'm
already
confident we'll
exempt.
see some improvements. For comparison's
Oh
sake, and
yeah,
you'll see it a little bit later.
they want the social emotional
Cedar
learning
Cliff
too, and
has
they're still
5.2%
trying to
of the
feed social
population as
emotional learning to their
English
kids.
learners. For comparison, I believe Redland's at 0.2%. their N size, their number of English learners is so small, that's not a category for them. Just so we understand, like this, only Cedar Cliff even has this population as a high school. So something to keep in mind. Here's our building level score. So Pennsylvania creates.
Carolyn just told me that they had a curriculum, or they had
It's a comprehensive measure of how
assembly,
schools perform.
and they
It
weren't really
includes
talking
test
about
data,
Character Strong, but they
growth
did talk about
data,
how
attendance
HMH
data at high
is
schools.
the
I
same
believe
thing as
graduation
Character
rate data is
Strong.
there. So you get a number on a 0 to 100 scale.
Exactly, it is the
There's our
same thing.
scores. There's our
Okay,
scores
but,
historically,
you know,
22 to 24.
when you bring it
A
up, they don't want to
couple-
hear it. They
I-
want to side
We have
with you.
set the expectation that the score that I would expect every building to be at would be 80. I think 80 is a target score for all of us.
And
We have
Carolyn's
schools that are
teacher, I mean,
in
I
the
have it
80s.
in
We have
email
schools
that
that have
states
work to
that
do.
she's
Shout
already
out
too
once
busy with
again
everything
to a
else. She
couple of our
doesn't use the
schools. I think
HMH
Cushing Creek at an
SEL.
84.4 is a phenomenal score.
Okay, so why is she teaching those kids?
83.4 and Washington Heights at an
She,
81.
I have the books. Like, there's nothing
Washington
so
Heights
far that
credited
we've
to
come
that advanced
across
growth, their outstanding growth data.
that it's all the extra
Last
stuff.
year, we talked about some of our responses to data, some of the things that we were doing in response to data we were seeing. So we had the high school reading intervention program, Read 180. So that's happening. Initially, we were planning on that to be a high school intervention to freshmen. We expanded it. It's middle school and high school. And we just met. We are seeing some results. Middle school is really speaking super highly of it. We're looking to figure out how to make sure high school is getting the same types of results. But we are super excited about what that leads to. We're making sure that our older kids who struggle to read are getting the help they need. Middle school intensive scheduling, where we've added math and ELA 150% over before. So where students used to get 6 periods a cycle of math and 6 periods a cycle of English, middle school, they now get 9 and 9. So we've increased the amount of instruction. Implementation of the new K to 8 ELA program, which includes HMH and 95% core. We have a new science program that you approved and authorized a purchase for, so we appreciate that. HMH runs that. HMH is just a textbook publisher, a resource publisher, curriculum
So
publisher.
HMH is
So
the
we are
one
using
that is
it's
publishing
aligned to the new
social
STEEL
emotional
standards, which I
learning, but
believe
he's
go into
not saying
place
that.
next year. So we are ahead of the curve there.
And I have some stuff on
We
HMH if any
trained
parent
an
wants to see it.
enormous number of people in structured
And
literacy.
I have the
That's
6th grade books,
science and reading.
at least for ELA.
We trained a huge, a larger portion of our population than we actually had to. We went bigger. But essentially all elementary school teachers were trained in science of reading, along with other audiences within our district. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah,
So
that's what
making
they
sure
said,
everybody has
Denise.
a good foundation of how we will teach literacy in our district.
Mr. Gay?
Yes.
Sounds like some kids are going to be doubling up and having 2 math or 2 sciences a day.
Yeah. So that's a good question. So let's talk about the curricular programs. We'll have very simple data. We'll start looking at that performance data and growth data that we showed. We believe that what we're seeing in the HMH resources for ELA, for instance, we should be seeing results soon, probably within this year. I do caution that there's typically an implementation dip, but the early reports from the specialists who are intervening and the classroom teachers give us a lot of promise. So we'll be looking carefully at that data to see if we getting ROI, right? What's the return on our investment? We want to make sure that we're seeing the results we would expect. That's the one where I expect the greatest results. Remember, in science, you only test twice in their career, 4th and 8th grade. So you might have big gaps before you even see an assessment. Might have a lot of other data points or interventions that could create performance. Last year, we talked about how we were going to support special ed a little differently at Cedar Cliff. They did that and more, created the same support for ELD, and we targeted some support to some of the schools with our lower building scores. This year so far, I know we're going to continue. We're planning to continue our work with the new materials and programs, continuing to work with Cedar Cliff with TSI designation, specifically the L's. Special ed case managers are continuing to happen. And we keep looking at how do we support L's in math performance across the district. L's are English learners. I'm going to skip that. I think it's important to just take a second. I've given you all whole population data. We're going to go to disaggregating data. The next slide, Steve. Thank you. I think it's important to say we have to look at subgroup data. We have to look at how specific groups of kids are performing.
Is this available somewhere that we can go back and look at the slides he's skipping?
It should be in today's agenda. If not, I can take a copy of this video and submit it so we can have a copy of the video.
I can also freeze frame the recording and take screenshots.
That'd be great.
So as long as it's been on this screen, we can get pictures of it.
Have an understanding of that.
So here we go. We're going to be blaming the economically disadvantaged students with disability and the English learners. So yeah. This happens
Cedar
every
Cliff,
year,
41%
every
of
year,
students are
every year.
economically disadvantaged,
It's not that they
whereas
suck as teachers and they
Redland's about
can't teach
29%.
because they're too
So
busy
we
with
have
DEI and everything else.
significant differences in populations. You can see that it's much closer aligned with students with disabilities, but we have to look at that population and how they're performing on these same assessments. And the last one, the English learners, you can see two of those schools, Red Mill and Redland, don't have a population size that's large enough to be tracked. Right. So they're not tracking their performance. They don't, what we'd say is an N size, a number of students high enough to track their performance. PDE doesn't do it for us. I think that's useful to know. I'm not going to talk about pathways to graduation other than to say we did really well this year. And I'm really proud of Dr. Jones and the high school teams for making sure our students were prepared. This is a newish requirement. We're doing a very nice job in making sure our kids all satisfy a pathway to graduation. I think when we talk about secondary schools, again, Keystone scores and growth are one side of the equation, but there's a lot of other measures of success, whether that's the opportunities kids have, and here's some of the opportunities our students have and the numbers in which they're participating in those, whether that's advanced placement courses or how many exams they're taking, college in the high school or dual enrollment, so students taking college levels while in high school, internships, co-op, and the number of credentials kids are earning.
Because they have to when you're a school district.
One more. Different schools have developed different cultures. Redland put their eggs in the advanced placement basket. When dual enrollment came out and the opportunity, college and high school came out, and the opportunity for students or schools to offer college level courses in a high school environment, one of the requirements is that early on especially, staff had to have a content area advanced degree. So an education degree, a master's in education generally didn't allow you to teach a college level English class. You had to have a master's in English. And at one time that was relatively rare. And I believe Redland had very few, most of their teachers had master's degrees. If they had master's degrees, they tended to be in education. By whatever quirk, a lot of Cedar Cliff folks had content area master's degrees. That was some time ago, and it's kind of evolved where the Redland community kind of put more eggs in the advanced placement basket.
I think we need to
Cedar
either
Cliff community
put
really
Toscos
embraced
on probation until the academics in the West Shore School District
more staff interest.
gets
We have
better.
more staff now who have
Either
content,
that or cut
area
his
master's
salary.
degrees.
We're
And we
paying
wanna
him
make
$200,000 a year
kids
for
at
what?
Redland are getting those same opportunities, but both can result in college credit. So, discerning students might say, oh, I'm going to take that course as a dual enrollment option, right? I'm going to take that at HAC. This course I'm going to take at Redland or Cedar Cliff as an advanced placement course. I'll take the test. As long as I pass the test, I'll get the credit for it for my college. Both are giving kids college level experience while in high school. Yes. Yep. That's a good question. Thank you for noticing that.
Mrs. Cox, one other thing too is the certification, the requirements
Denise is
around
talking
that
about the
master's
superintendent.
degree have also changed from the sponsoring institutions. So, for example, to illustrate part of what Mr. Gay was saying, we actually have a teacher at Cedar Cliff who is teaching an anthropology course because he had a master's in that field. That was sort of luck of the draw, and that's a hack-based course. Now, though, we have more teachers who are certified to teach at both buildings, but in particular at Redland as well. Mrs. Wolf runs a college algebra course. Just to come off the top of my head, there are a couple of instructors in the English department that are teaching college speech and college comp.
This is from Mariana, even though it has our podcast name on it.
Thing over time, but he's not necessarily wrong in terms of the participation in AP has been higher at Redland over time.
The first school that offered you that college and the high school program was HAC, and HAC had really stringent expectations to qualify you to teach it. We have new partners that are more flexible, whether that's Harrisburg University, Penn College. We have some partners that are more flexible with the requirements.
Yeah, we actually have a number of college and the high school partners now that are beyond HAC. Harrisburg University will also overlay an advanced placement course and allow for college credit in that. The University of Pittsburgh has a strong program. Penn College of Technology has a strong program in this. So there are a lot of players in this space now to be able to offer college and the high school to kids.
There used to just be one. So yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you pointed it out. Thank you. We've already talked about the CTC enrollment, so you can see historically how that's gone, and I think you have that today. Future plans, I think that's interesting. Cedar Cliff Redland had very similar number of kids who are looking at four-year college. Vocational outcomes, very similar number of kids. Armed services, pretty similar.
You're kidding me. There's 0% undecided.
It's interesting. The two schools do some
Probably not.
differently,
I mean,
but
the
very
0% that's
outcomes,
probably under a
these are
percent. It's
student-reported
unlikely
outcomes.
that
They
there's
report on very
actually
shortly before
no
graduation
kids that were
outcomes.
undecided, but maybe just a small enough amount that
That-
it didn't register as a
One of the things we do to support
As
our
big as
students is we
Cedar
have a
Cliff
number of
is,
summer
that
programs.
surprises
I took
me.
the opportunity to
Also,
label
I would
them,
like
but
to
I want
point
you
out
know
that
how they're
that's
being
also
funded too. I
putting
think that's an
0%
important
is
point to note.
so
Some of them are through federal grant funds. Some of them are
wrong
through
for like that's.
IDA
I
special
get
ed
that
funds, and
like
some are
you want
funded
it
by
to
the
be like a
district.
certain
So I
amount
just want to
to
point those out there.
before it
Here's our
represents, but
elementary ones.
when it's still a small amount in your school, you should be
Cool
using
School,
decimals.
Mission Transition.
Maybe they don't know
from
how.
Kindergarten, an ELD summer
Bingo.
program that we run. ESY. which
Some
is
of them
special
are
extended school
West
year,
Shore
ESY.
grads. I mean,
We also offer a middle school. They have a summer program with small group remediation in ELA and math. That's funded by the district. And we also fund acceleration, credit recovery, and co-op education, some smaller programs at our high school. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't shout out our Excel program. They're doing an amazing job. We have 160 full-time students, 109 part-time students, and each year, average academic performance in Excel, our online program, is increasing. I'm really proud of that. Just met with them today, and we gave them lots of kudos.
What is that? What is Excel?
I started to say, and I think it's important to say, these numbers are only one part of the story. I think they're an important part of the story. But, your story is also students like our student Braden and Lily that we had here. It's Ezra we had last month. It's the kids in JROTC who do their thing. It's the kids who shout out Mr. Gay and Mr. Miller for guiding them to a pathway. It's the kids like Raina who's doing amazing stuff. Regardless of her test score, it's Jackson Kane, who's spoken here before, who got an admission to Princeton, and it's the kids who've committed military service. Those are all interesting stories, and they tell a lot about.
So
West Shore
Excel is a
School District
program at the
management.
West Shore
So
School District
I think
that
it's really
offers
important. I think the
one-on-one
numbers
small
matter.
group
I also think those
assistance for our
those anecdotes, those
students, and also
qualitative stories that talk
free
about
online
the
SAT
unique,
prep
rich experiences
courses.
our kids get in our schools.
Okay.
And I think it's for students in 11th and 12th grade.
What questions you have for me? Yeah, sure.
West Shore excellent. West Shore
Thank you so much
proud.
for your
Okay.
presentation.
And to be proud about.
So I was just trying to understand, you had said that some of the numbers were 70 was the state standard, was it like 70%?
So on a growth, so I think
Now you have, I just want to point out, now you have a school board member asking about the line that I just told all the viewers to ignore.
The state creates a meeting growth standard. They say that if your building is getting a 70, if your building earned a 70, on average, your students are growing 1 year.
Okay, so that's not 70 like a D or a C.
No, it has nothing to do with grades.
Okay.
It's not associated with grades. It's a number that is made up, but they convert.
He just said it.
Made up.
He
among
just
students. So
said
take
it.
all the students and how are they growing against expectations? Create an average of that and then normalize the number on a 0 to 100 scale. And that's what they've done. And they've said, if you're at 70, you're averaging 1 year of growth for your students. Anything above 70 is over a year of growth. Anything under 70 is less than a year of growth. Our goal
That's
is
still not
always
good.
to exceed a year
And
of
it
growth.
still doesn't make any
made
sense.
up.
We
It's
cannot.
made up. You said it.
That growth model means this. A student comes in to fourth grade, but is on second grade level. Let's just say that.
Okay.
At the end of fourth grade, that kid will be at fifth grade level if they grow 1 year, right? Fourth grade to fifth grade. If you grow 1 year, that teacher helps you grow 1 year, but you'll still be 2 performance levels behind, and you'll remain 2 as so long as you only get 1 year growth. if you're in deficit, you have to grow more than 1 year to close the deficit.
With the classes as packed full as they are,
So our kindergartner, if a
there's no
kindergartner
way that these students are
is not
growing
really
one
kindergarten
grade
ready,
within a
functioning like
year.
3-year-old. That's
And I really find
There's no
it
way at
hard
all.
to
That's an imaginary
If that
number. There's no
kindergarten
way at all.
teacher
I
grows
mean,
that
I'm
kid 1
sorry, our
year,
kids don't know anything.
that kid still, when he goes to first
How
grade,
do
still
these
2 years
board
behind.
members
Just
not
right compared
understand?
to his peers. Compared to his peers. So it's
I
absolutely
don't
vital.
get
we
that
go kids
either.
more
I just
than
don't
a year
understand
each.
how they don't understand.
And so with that being said, do we get like a report card of like how we're doing as
Absolutely.
a school district?
Yeah, almost all this data is very publicly available. I pointed it out. I make sure I do when it comes out. I do send it all to you in board notes. So
But they
the
don't
data
provide
you're
it to the
talking about
parents,
is
do
through
they?
PVAS,
You should have had that.
PVAS, Pennsylvania Value Added Assessment System. You can sort by schools, districts, and you can see how your school or district is showing growth, and you can compare growth. I believe in PVAS, you can compare growth amongst other schools too. So you can see how your population, your school is growing, and I think you
I'll
can.
try and get that
you
website.
can.
I didn't quite hear it
Break
when
out
we
by grade
said it,
level
but I'll try and
school
get that
content.
website
And
and
do we know what
post it on our
report
social
card is
media.
at that?
Yeah, it's public. Anybody can go look at. That's where this data came from.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Mrs. Thomas, we don't get a report card like your school is an A, B, C, or D.
Okay.
Well, the other place that I would point you to is also the Future Ready Index page,
Right.
and that's
closer to feeling like a report card.
Yeah, because I don't mean to make this simple for anybody, but there's usually
You're
red,
not
green, and
simple. You're making it more
yellow
difficult.
breakdowns and charts, and you can compare to multiple districts. So,
This-
if, for example,
So
you
this
wanted
guy
to see
wants a
our
color
data
by
compared
number
to one of
line
our
chart
neighbors, you can very
because he doesn't
easily
know how
set
to
that
read
as a
data any other
comparator on
way.
here and take a look at that. You can kind of drive into the level of detail and say, I just want to see the ELA stuff or the math stuff, or I want to see how you're doing on the career ed and preparing kids for life after school perspective. So that's another good site to see.
And really drill down.
Okay,
How are
you're talking
third
about another
graders at
site.
Washington? I'll say fourth graders, Washington Heights, math, Hispanic. How are they performing? I can see that on the Future Ready. And if you simply Google Future Ready Pennsylvania, Google will take you to that.
There you go.
site.
Google
And
Future Ready
make sure I do
Pennsylvania
link
and
that and share
look that up.
results from that.
If any of our viewers are
Make sure
watching
you
right
guys
now,
see
see
that
if
when
you
it
can
comes
go Google that.
My
Make
next
sure it's
question
actually a
is,
legitimate site and not just something
When
they
we were
just blew
talking about the
smoke.
different curriculums, have we ever thought about having a curriculum audit by a third party to see if we are getting value from the product that we're purchasing?
Yeah, I
That's a
have
great
not
idea, and we should do
explored
it.
right now. My effort is actually, we just talked about today, is curriculum management software, a tool to
Sure.
manage that. We have not gone down the path of contracting for a curricular audit. We tend to do that work ourselves to review our curriculum to state standards. We do that in-house. There could be value in
They tend to do the work themselves because they don't want anybody else to come in and say,
I
well, the
have been
curriculum you picked is junk.
Correct.
Mrs.
And that
Thomas,
they
one
are
of the things I
failing.
was going to do, Mr. Vogelsong.
It's also the
let's go to
reason you do
slide
independent
4.
audits. If anybody ever wants to know why isn't there an independent auditor or
So
why
this
is
was
that,
the
because
elementary
proven
math
partiality.
PSSA data. I just want to
We
remind
need
the
one
board
because
that
we got the Three
last
Stooges
May,
here, you know, coming
we
up with these
recommended
numbers.
a new math series for K to 5. And so, Mr. Brinton, you had originally asked the question, but while I don't have any statistical analysis or research or anything, it's kind of hard for me to look at this chart and not think that the adoption of that new resource last year didn't have a positive effect on the scores.
Oh, 2 years ago. Last year we didn't improve with math. I wasn't here for that, so I think that's 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
I was at ELA. Yeah.
Okay, 2
Yeah,
years
2
ago.
years ago, yeah.
I thought when I looked it up.
That's why the data is showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years ago then.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Yeah.
But on that, right, because he said, oh, fourth grade's killing it, right? But we should probably be looking at what's going on in third grade. So to the answer of, well, where does the curriculum audit come in? I think it's in that manner. And to answer your question of, do we ever get results that tell us about how that is doing? This is, you know, we always get the ones like the benchmark exams, or I'll air quote and say the ones that matter less, right? But they're the ones that we see most frequently, or they're part of the curriculum, and we see how
Any of the
kids are
school
coming
board,
along.
anybody
This
who
is
is
the money
sitting on that
one.
table right now, any of the school board
It
members
looks
who
like
maybe
that
get to catch
adoption
this
from K
episode
to
later,
5
Give
is
me a call. I'll
paying
be
some
happy to
dividends
show you what
in
those
terms
that
of the growth that
information
we're
was.
seeing.
Break it down for you.
My last question, thank you for that explanation. My last question, do we look at what it costs per student to educate?
100%. We have to calculate that, Ms. Boone. I think it's that calculation. It's yeah, that's a figure that we have to
This
have.
is why they're
So I was
crying
just
about
wondering
losing kids
what
to
the
cyber school.
difference Pre-COVID at 2019 that we always go back to, and what it costs right now in 2024. I don't need the numbers, or if you don't have them handy today, but I would like that. I'd like to know that.
Yeah, I can pull that information. That's actually calculated by PDE. We submit an AFR every year, so our annual financial report.
And that's
Once we
Stevie
have the
Boone
audit done and
speaking. She
everything, we
does
have
the
to
accounting.
submit our final expenditures and
Right.
everything like that, and then they pull from that information and calculate our elementary and secondary tuition rate.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
I would caution how that might get used.
Because it's going to be up about
Unless you tell
40
me
to
otherwise,
50%
there are
at least.
costs in
I'm
there,
willing to
for
bet.
example, facilities costs that are
Since
contributing
2019.
to that calculation.
Oh, Denise says it's
So,
20K.
You just have to be careful in
That
how
seems
far
low. Are
can
you sure
take
that's
that
right,
down and
Denise?
say, because we've clearly built a new Rossmoyne in the last several years.
This must be such an invigorating meeting because I mean the person
And,
sitting right there in
we wouldn't have had
the
full
audience on
weight
camera
of
is
the
knitting.
immediate rules, but you just have additional costs in there that are not always, I think, so attributable to. It's just one of the problems with
Good
the
point.
per pupil expenditures that I think gets done, and when we start to compare that to other places and whatnot, it's just a caution. It does. I understand the intent of where you're coming from with, well, what's the
Brandy,
cost
you
to
need to run for
educate
school
kids?
board.
This
We could just
entire
have a very healthy
conversation
debate
between
on what's
the
included in that
superintendent
and what's
and him
not
talking to
included
school
in that.
board
No,
members, we're trying to
I
see
don't.
numbers.
Well, I guess that's probably why I asked about the
This
audit.
is
and,
because
if
the
we had ever done
superintendent
a
doesn't
curriculum
want that
audit
school board
to
member to
say
have the
we're only
numbers
getting
because he knows that
That is
she's
correct.
this is
Because don't
not
we
okay.
I mean, I could just join in and knit with her.
We're on a 6-year
That would probably be
cycle,
frowned
so
upon.
each year we don't purchase a curriculum, but we do.
I do
purchase
this so I don't
curriculum
throat
resources.
punch people.
So every 6 years, so.
But you're right,
you know,
Jonathan. The school
English department,
administrator is always trying to hide the facts from
adopted
the
a new
board.
resource.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
he's
I
just
really
saying,
think
Anticipate that
be
resource
careful
will
how
be
those
used in
numbers are
resource
used.
for 6
They're
years,
numbers.
right?
You
They'll
can't use them
subscribe to that
anyway.
sort of
They're
thing.
the
Then
numbers.
we'll
That's what it
reexamine,
costs you to educate
the
pupils
value
in
of
the
that
school district.
resource. We
You don't need
know,
any
And we
caution
should-
about how to use those
gonna-
numbers or how to release those
we'll-
numbers.
our
Those
plan
numbers are
is we
fact.
readopt
That's the way
every
it
6 years
is.
as necessary.
that's correct. And we need to bring
and
in an
can I just
outside
piggyback off what
independent
Dr. Stoltz said? I can certainly give you those
company to
tuition
do
rates,
an
but
analysis,
like he mentioned,
okay,
there's other
on the real
factors, not
numbers and
only
the
our
real
facilities,
growth,
we have
okay, and on
cybersecurity,
the
and that would be
failure
factored into this
that they
amount as
are.
well. It
With
takes
Denise's
all
help,
of our
we have the
expenses
numbers that they
and
don't have
calculates it
right
out.
there in a
So,
meeting where they should have
it's
these
not gonna
numbers.
be
We have them. That's how long it took.
Not
Thank you,
just the
Denise,
cost
for
of
looking it
teacher
up.
and
Denise
Yeah.
says that in 2022 it was 19K.
Correct.
I'm willing to bet that if we
From
that when
a
we
data
find
point
this year's
standpoint,
numbers,
those
it's going to be
results, I
higher
think,
than
are
that.
important, as board members that we see. Could we maybe get those sent to us in an email rather than added into board notes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think what you
Why
probably
not add it
want-
into the board
are
notes
you
so we can
thinking
all
like
see
these
it?
slides, or do you want me to just give you the links to Future Ready or pull out screen grabs out of there?
I'd also like to suggest you guys
We'll
just
have
put
them.
those
Yeah,
numbers
yeah, I wanna
directly
do
on your
that.
website on the home screen because
something that
your
gives
parents
us
are obviously wanting to
a
get
feel
more
for where we're
involved.
headed,
So give
and-
them
and
the
what we're
information
doing,
that they want.
kinda getting
Put it
back to
right
what
on your
Heidi
home screen.
said,
You can link
you
it.
know, what
It
are
will
the
take
bang
you
that we're getting
5
for a buck
minutes.
and our
Give me
safety
access
net.
to your network. I'll take care of it.
Mrs. Brent, one final thing, just to follow up on here. So the K-5 math adoption was done in May of 23. Last year was the first year of implementation. So, as opposed to 2 years, right?
Yep, that
You-
would make
you
sense.
presented 23 for.
Yeah, that was an implementation year. Good.
Thank you.
Anyone have any
Saw
other
green
questions?
lights. The folks with the green lights on were.
Mr. Crone?
Mr. Gage, just very quickly, Mr. Vogelsong, can we go to slide 3 or 4? I guess both a shout out, and I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to advocate here. I would imagine we're still one of the few districts that have half-day kindergarten in the state.
Here he
And we
goes
are
again with the
holding our
kindergarten. We can't
own-
afford
You're
it,
making a
dude.
Good point.
And I'm going to advocate again for full day kindergarten, and I
We
think
can't
that
afford it. We don't have the
exponential-
money, and he knows this.
that ripple
He's
effect
doing it because the
third
public,
grade
his
to fourth
fans,
grade,
the
and
libtards are
all the
putting
way up.
pressure on
So,
him to keep pushing it,
personally, a
but we
shout out
cannot
to our
afford it, and that's been
teachers that
established
I
a
don't know
couple of
how you
meetings back.
quantify a half day program as starting
This is why
first
it's important
grade,
for if you're in this community,
maybe
get
not
involved,
that
follow these meetings, write
but whatever it
emails,
is,
write letters,
a
because
shout out, but also
time
an
gets wasted by
advocacy moment
regurgitating
that,
stuff that was already decided
I see a
upon
lot of
meetings ago.
areas that these numbers can continue.
Then you'll
to
see him on
improve.
Facebook tonight
So
if you
that'd
go
be
to
the
Adam
pathway
Trone's
that we
page saying,
continue to
"Oh,
wanna
I'm
go down.
fighting for your
You
people.
make a
I'm
great point.
trying,
I
but
just
the
want to
broad
remind folks,
president doesn't
half-day
want to."
program is a
No, it's
generous
already been
term,
established. The
right?
numbers
We've
have been
looked at
given.
the
We cannot
increase of hours
afford
if
it
we went to a full day
because we
program.
have staff,
It
we
is
have,
significantly more than
furniture, we
doubling
have,
the amount
the
of time at
location.
home.
All that we don't
So
have the money.
thank you for
We're
pointing
in
that out.
debt.
It does
We're in
Does he have
debt.
the public page? Yeah, you're $50 million in debt.
Any other discussion?
Does he have a public page or is it his private page?
Yes, he has a Facebook public page, and if
Oh,
you
that
go
is
between tonight and tomorrow, you will see all the
Superb.
trash coming out of his mouth. Okay,
Superb.
he's just trying to make sure he gets reelected by these libtards. And
Superb.
interesting enough, he's wearing red for communism today.
Stay following Adam Trone's page. You just might see the Boiling Point podcast pop up.
Yeah, and you will really see him attacking the board, attacking parents, but when they attack back, he's crying like a soy boy. I can't take it. I mean, no.
We have recognition of the public.
Madam President, there are no student public comment cards.
Thank
So
you,
go
Dr.
directly to the community members. Shay Ellis?
All right, so where are we at in the meeting, Mariana, now that we've gotten through
In
some of this
brief,
other stuff?
It looks like we have a lot of familiar faces here. So,
So
4
it's
minutes
now the
and,
community's
be
going to make their
considerate to everyone
comments on what they want,
Welcome, Shay.
different things. It's
Thank
usually the
you.
libtards that talk first for whatever reason.
I was here back in September. I had talked about some busing troubles, and I had also talked about my sixth grader at Old Trail Intermediate School, his experience with getting bullied for being in a queer family. The child who decided to bully him in
I listen.
September,
No kid should be bullied. Let's just be clear about that. All right. I don't care what happens in their home or not. All right. That's not okay. It's not on the kid's fault. They should. None of that should be
my
taken out on
child
them. So again, it goes
in the
to
cafeteria
parents
around
get involved
3:10
and teach your kids
for the
not to
buses
bully
to
because
arrive.
your school's
He
not
was
going to do it.
approached
So
by
you got to do it
two students
yourself.
and a couple of others that were kind of behind them. He was encircled by these folks, bullied verbally, had his hat taken off his head, his hoodie strings pulled, his hat was passed around and kept away from him. He was bullied and pushed into the corner. He was choked, scratched, thrown to the ground by his neck, and kicked in the back 5 times. Nobody intervened.
Where are the teachers?
Students, that
They
I
stay
didn't
away, they
know the
ignore it,
names
and
of,
what she's
just kinda
saying,
stood and
her
watched and
child's not
laughed
the only one.
while
We
my
got
son was on the ground getting kicked in
children
the
who
back.
identify as
He
whatever
was
they
left
identify,
bleeding
and we
with
got
a
straight
chunk of skin
conservative
missing from
kids
his throat,
going through the same thing.
and all
But
5
yet,
fingernail marks
Costos
from
would look
this
at
child
you
in his
and
hand.
say, Mr. Edmonds, bullying does
As
not
soon as I
happen
found
in
out
the
about
West
it,
Shore
I
School
immediately
District. We
notified
do
school
not have a
administrators
violence
and I brought
problem.
it to their
Yes,
attention.
we do.
And the following day, I contacted the local police department to file a report, and there were charges filed against 2 of the students who attacked my son.
And are those kids
The
expelled?
concerning part
By the
is
most part, they're
building
not. They're slap
principal
on the wrist.
decided to
But,
have my
the
son
only way
review
the
the footage
parents
of
is
his
going to get
attack
any attention
without
from this
telling me
taco
they were
eating
going to be doing
administrator
that
of ours
and without
is
me
when they go to
present.
the police and they file a
He has an
police
anxiety
report.
diagnosis.
Other than that,
He has
he'll
a
ignore it.
504 plan. And what world
And
is
I
that
know
trauma
people.
informed?
I know people. I know
To
families that've
have
been
my
through this.
anxiety diagnosed child who just got traumatized, beaten up, and left bloody. And now he has to watch the footage of him getting thrown to the ground by his neck.
This woman's
without his
personal
parents
choices
present,
aside,
being re-traumatized again.
okay? Because
That's unacceptable. There's got to be a policy when kids are getting physically assaulted at school, so much so that 2 children have harassment charges now.
yeah,
You all need to make sure that we are contacted. My
She's
son
correct.
has a verbal deficit. He's not going to be able to come home and tell me everything. I see blood on my child. That is very concerning. It is very upsetting for my child to come home from school with a chunk of skin missing from his throat and having to be interviewed by police officers and photographed. It's not fair. I need the school.
The sad thing is,
board
this
and the
happens
school
way
building
too often, and
administrators
it's happened
to
for
have more
years.
trauma-informed
At
approaches
Allen Middle
and
School,
make
there was
sure
a
if you're going
girl
to
a few
have
years
children and
ago that
students
people were
watch
literally bringing knives in
traumatizing
and telling
events
her
that
to kill
happen to them,
herself.
maybe parents should
And
know
the
about
district
that
did
first.
nothing. The
What's
parent
even
actually
worse
removed
is
the
the
child from the
principal
district.
called my husband and told him that that she showed the footage to my son and never told us what was in the footage. Do you know how I found out? I had to beg to see it. I had to beg to see it. I had to show up at
She is
7:30 in the morning
100%
and
correct.
watch
A
it
lot of
days after
parents
my
have
son had to
found
see
out
it.
that same way through
That's
a
not
video.
okay.
And it's not okay because they
That's
don't
not
even inform the parents that
student-centered.
the kid's been attacked.
Yeah.
And now my son is stuck riding the bus
That's
with
unacceptable.
2 kids I just filed harassment charges on, even after I
Those
asked
kids
in
should not
writing for
even
them
be
to
in
be
school right
removed.
now. If there were
More
charges,
needs to be
police
done to
charges brought
protect
against
your
them, that should
vulnerable
be
students,
an immediate
especially when
suspension.
there's a
Oh
representation
no, there's
and
kids
a
with police
504
charges
plan,
and
and
they
you know
haven't
that
been
they have
expelled.
anxiety. We've
Okay,
got
and
to
then what
That's
happens is that the
ridiculous.
let's protect our
parents
students,
of the
please.
child that been victimized have to pull the child out of the school. Okay,
Yeah,
but
that's
yet
ridiculous.
this administrator that's a failure because he's a failure done nothing about it.
And why can't the school
Outside
board
of
get
deny.
let's remind our viewers, why can't the school board get more involved, Mariana?
Because this is the thing. There's a policy, okay, that was passed that these situations, the school board can't get involved because if they have to expel a child, the school board is like the jury.
Are
Okay, so they wanted to go through those who does absolutely nothing.
That's just too much. I wanted to talk about the presentation on our test scores and our ranking.
Oh, please.
And I know our ranking is being compared to the state ranking. Please, as you consider the curriculums that we're using, the manner in which we're teaching, we are between 39th and 40th ranked state in the nation.
That's what I was
in
just saying
education
earlier, everybody.
And higher education.
I said you should not be going by the state numbers. You should
Florida,
be
however,
well
is
above that.
number 1 state in educational ranking and higher educational ranking. They have eliminated completely social and emotional learning in their curriculum. Perhaps you should be looking at the curriculum and the manner in which it is taught at Florida's curriculum, and maybe we can begin to mirror that. I would like to see us number 1 in the nation, not 39th or 40th, and not comparing our ranking in this district to, oh, wow, we're meeting this goal in the state ranking. When you're 39th, when you're in the Olympics and you finish 39th, you're not on that podium. And you guys, I would highly suggest you reaching out to a couple of school districts in Florida and finding out the curriculum they're using and in the manner in which they're teaching. If we want to take our students to a higher grade of learning and absorption, then we need to mirror success, not failure. Thank you.
Yep, excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. And she's 100%
Heather
right.
Keller?
Oh, help us, Lord. Help us, Lord.
Uh-oh. What's
Heather.
this one?
You'll see.
Welcome,
You'll
Heather.
see.
Oh, I know her. I'm walking away. I did it on the last meeting, Mariana. I'm putting
First,
you.
I just wanted to share that on
I'm putting
Sunday
you in charge.
night,
I'm
the
walking away. I'm
Cedar
not
Cliff
listening to this
community
one.
lost the former music director for Christ Presbyterian
Brandy, you're in
Church
charge.
in Camp Hill, Luann Potter. Luann was a cherished mentor and choir director for me and many other district alumni. And she also accompanied on both organ and piano various choirs from Cedar Cliff when they would perform at the church over the years. So just wanted to share that. I specifically wanted to speak regarding the definition language in the district social media policy being reviewed, board policy 816. In particular, the definition for personal social media accounts. Specifically, I believe that the definition just needs to include some kind of distinction between political social media pages and personal social media pages for school board directors.
Personal and
While
public.
the
That should be the
pages,
only
are
distinction.
attributed to and operated by individual school board directors,
Correct.
they are used to share information on school district related business and are open to comments and reactions from the public. Often the school board director for that political page engages in discussion with the comments.
So I
The
guess
First
she's talking
Amendment
about
to the
Adam
United
Trong,
States
right?
Constitution
I don't know who
protects
she's
free
talking about, but
speech,
she is
and this
definitely
protection
what she's
applies to
advocating
speech
for right
on
now. For
social
anybody who
media
can't figure
accounts
that
that
out,
are
is she
elected
doesn't
government
want school
officials
board
use
members
for
to have
governmental
public pages to
purposes,
be able to engage
such
with
as
their
discussing
voters.
policies
This
and
woman right
business
here
matters.
literally wants less
For example, the
connection
board
to the
policy
people
already
who are elected,
references First
Correct.
whether
Amendment
she
instituted
understands that that's what she's
constitutional versus
advocating or
non,
not.
which classifies
So
the
is she mad because
interactive
Kelly talks
space
to people?
associated with President Trump's
Exactly.
tweets
But then she should
as a
be mad
designated
about the
public
stuff that
forum,
Trump
and several
says
courts
about
have
people
recognized
and
that
says
once a
about the
government
board
official
and says about
creates
the
an
conservative party. But
interactive
no,
social
it's
media
an attack
platform for
towards Kelly
discussing
to try to
issues,
Yeah, well,
silence
look,
her.
a public forum
yeah,
is
stay tuned
created.
to that. We'll look into Adam
In light of
Trone's
this,
page
I
and
feel it would
start
be
reporting
appropriate
on
in
Adam
that
Trone's public
policy
page
to
too.
include
So
some kind of footnote
Oh, I have truckloads
or
of stuff for
maybe
you
an
on that.
indication that the personal social media account definition does not apply to the political social media pages for school board directors. Doing this would help to eliminate any unnecessary confusion in the future while also protecting the First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Thank you.
I bet you Abigail Turney put her up
Thank
to
you.
that. I bet ya.
Christy Harmon.
We know it too. Ooh, Christy's talking. Christy. Jonathan, come back.
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Welcome. Hi,
Thank
Christy.
you. So what I want to talk about basically is the same what Sandra said. In our curriculum, you did say that we get every 6 years we get another curriculum or review it. Is that correct?
We use as, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to answer.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway. Okay. So the HMH that we purchased.
Houghton Mifflin Hardcore.
Okay, that we just purchased, and that was this year?
We purchased, July.
Okay. All right. So as we see our scores that they are very low, like we are talking about, and we're trying to fix that problem. HMH is full of social emotional learning. And as Sandra said, you do have to look at other states that are doing well, and Florida is doing awesome. So back when we are mandating masks and we were fighting the social emotional learning and we were coming in, we need to get back to education. And that's what we're lacking here. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. Clearly, it's sad. Like Mr. Gay, you did a great job. But when you're doing that and you have to put the word salad in to cover up like what's going on with our children, that's sad. And, this DEI and the CRT and this social emotional learning, it is not working for the children. It's profiting certain people that are selling it or lobbying it or whatever, but it's not benefiting the children. It's the data. They say it takes 5 or 6 years to actually see data. By the time we wait 5 or 6 years, look at our numbers now. It's going to be 10 times worse. So I understand I guess we can't do anything because we already approved this, but we need to consider removing this stuff and getting back to education. And also for the mother that came in here that went through that with her child, I'm completely sorry, but I have heard before that they do watch these videos without the parents being in the room. So I do think it is a good idea to talk about doing a policy to, protect the children and the parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, Christy.
Again,
Thank you.
I have to say that
Terry Mickle.
that has to come down to the parents. I'm sorry, it has to come down to the parents. I don't have any kids, so I don't necessarily have a bone in this fight.
Welcome.
But I would not want schools dictating
So
what can be
my name is
posted or
Sherry
what
Mickle,
cannot be
and,
posted. That's a slippery
as a
slope.
community member, I don't
So
know
in
how
terms
many
of
of you
posting
noticed, but
bullying
recently
and
they,
fights or beating somebody up,
announced Pennsylvania House Bill
I would say that
480.
has to come to the
This
parents as
bill was
well.
recently announced, and I think it's a really smart step for our district.
She's running for school board, isn't she?
Yeah,
Right
and
now,
she's
we
gonna
spend a significant
cross
amount of
file,
taxpayer dollars
okay,
to
as
cyber
a
charter schools
bipartisan.
and
Number
families
one,
that
she's
choose
not a
independent learning
conservative.
options.
Number two,
These
all her
costs take
policies,
away
she's on the
from
wrong side of
funding
policy.
programs that directly
She
benefit
wants to
all of our
further all
students.
these woke
Classroom
agendas. And
resources,
this is
teachers and
somebody, I think
staff
she's gonna run
salaries,
against
arts and
Kelly.
STEM
And this is
programs,
somebody that
our
we do not want
extracurriculars.
to vote
And
for.
let's not
She
forget
is
the
on the
much needed
wrong
building improvements and
side of
renovations.
everything.
But now there's this legislation that is offering a compromise that could save us millions. HB 480 gives us a chance to keep some of those dollars in our district with our own cyber charter offerings while still giving parents a choice. Families who prefer cyber learning can enroll in the district's Excel program at no cost. But
The whole point of
it's
leaving your school
cyber
district
schools. They
is
are
that they
only
don't want to be a
responsible
part of your
for
school
meeting the district's
district.
contribution cap
Correct.
and whatever the tuition
But they
is
don't
for
want to
that
discuss
cyber
this,
charter school.
Jonathan. Okay.
Families get the choice they need, and West
These
Shore can invest those
curriculums, this
savings in our own
bullying,
offerings.
okay,
I think it's a fair
everything that's been
balance,
happening,
one that ensures that all
parents have
students
fed
can
up.
be
They've
supported
removed
while
the kids
being more
from the schools. They've
responsible with our budget.
homeschooled. Then they put them in cyber
I would
charter school.
encourage the
And
board
she
to
is
publicly
against
support
parents'
HB
choice.
480
Okay,
and
she's
for our
definitely
community to
against
That's
reach
pretty
parents'
out
clear.
choice
to our state
because they're like,
representatives
we
who
need
want
to bring the
know.
money. We're losing all this money to
Our
cyber school. But when
own,
you ask them,
the
what are you guys
92nd's
doing to
own
remedy
Representative
to
Anderson
keep
is on
these
the
kids?
education
You
committee.
hear
I think that's really
crickets, not an
important for
answer.
us.
Now, just knowing that
Let's
Adam
support
Trump supports her,
solutions that
okay,
keep
for her
our tax
candidacy,
dollars
this
in
is not
district where they belong,
a
and it
candidate
also
that you want. She's
respects
on the wrong
families' rights
side.
to choose
She's
what's
against
best for
parental rights and she's against school choice.
Thank you.
Don't give her a hand. Oh, I guess
No.
that's polite, right?
No, that's her side. The people that
Too
work
much
for Trump.
politeness. There's too much politeness in this world.
There being no further business? Turn on your microphone, please.
Turn on your microphone.
Turn it on.
Okay. With some of the comments, I wasn't aware that any of our curriculum is based in critical race theory, or
Of course
there
you're
any of our
aware.
curriculum that has critical race theory as part of it, or is based in critical race theory.
Now, critical race theory is typically like graduate school level stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Not a-
He is a liar.
Yeah, they're just fabricating stuff
It's
right
just
here
lying.
live on the air, everybody. They're fabricating things right here live on the air.
There being no further business, I declare this meeting adjourned.
See how quickly they go.
I didn't hear what he said.
That critical race theory is like on a grad level, okay? That they don't have critical race theory. In other words, in
It's
the
not-
elementary and the high school,
I think,
and
the
that is a
concept-
lie.
The concept, that's what he was saying. The concept of critical race theory is more of a grad school level, not elementary.
Well, that's where it
high school.
started.
Yeah, that's where it started, but now it's
and it's
Right.
in all our curriculums. It's in all our curriculums.
yeah, Denise, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, the whole last thing. I'm glad that Kelly
Pinocchio.
just adjourned that meeting out really quick because that was some shenanigans right there at the end.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
so what we saw tonight, let's just do a real quick recap before we close out our episode. The first vote that they put in was not a good one. The thing that they approved, we did not want them to. Can we talk about that for just a minute so
No, it
people
was
are aware?
not. That's the revision of policy, I believe it is 109, and that's the one in which they are allowing not the school board members, but the district librarians and the superintendent and whoever he appoints as his minion, okay, to choose the materials that is coming into the schools, okay? That's not a good thing because our schools are affiliated with the ALA, the American Library Association, and the American Library Association is peddling trash into our schools. Now, we all know that we have had an issue with honesty when it comes to Tostos. My first experience with him was because we found the book Gender Queer and This Book is Gay in Cedar Cliff High School, and he denied. Okay, the book is still there. It's in Catherine Yo's classroom. Okay, so they're bringing and peddling in all this trash, and that was a big mistake to allow them to buy the material. That's number one. Number two, things like social emotional learning. Okay, the material, they're choosing the material and then bringing it in, praying that the parents don't figure out what it is. Of course, we figure out what it is. Okay, I don't know if Brandy wants to add to that because Brandy, in our West Shore School District Watchdog Edition, we're going to have an interview with Brandy. She is one of the parents that sue and won. Is there anything you want to say, Brandy, in reference to that mess?
I mean, it's just ridiculous. They actually, no matter what I put on my exemption, they kept denying it. Like my religion didn't matter to them. They don't get to pick and choose.
Yeah, that's exactly that's the biggest point right there is that the school does not get to pick and choose. That's
And
right.
even like this year, the other person on the lawsuit, she got a response within a few hours. Mine took over a week to get a response that my daughter was excluded.
And this opt-in thing, that's the other thing. This opt-in thing, it's a way to get the kids in there because they know.
There is no opt-in. There is no opt-in. You must
opt out. I'm sorry, you're right. I had it backwards. Thank you for correcting me, Brandy. Yes, opt out, not opt in. You're right. Yes.
And then when we realized that the HMH curriculum was full of social emotional learning, it was like pulling teeth to get the material. They can't give it to us online. So once that we became aware of that, I actually just if you go to TikTok and type in HMH curriculum, there will be teacher after teacher after teacher discussing what is in this curriculum and how it's taking 9+ hours to do lesson plans because of all of the extra stuff that they want to push into this curriculum. I mean, I said it earlier, Carolyn's teacher, I have it in an email. She was like, I don't do anything above character strong because I don't have time for it.
Yeah, that's
so far I haven't found anything in the lessons because she'll give me like, hey, we're doing mod whatever, and I'll look through it, and I haven't found anything, which is great. But those parents who have no idea, I don't know what the SEL curriculum is for HMH because I'm not seeing it because her teacher does not use it because they have no time to add anything else into their schedule.
Now, with what Brandy has been going through, and she's one of the parents that sued. And I think I asked this question to Brandy because it blows my mind that they sued and they won. Okay. I believe as an administrator, I would have their charts, okay, their records flagged, okay, that they're not to participate in any social emotional learning, and make my staff responsible in creating an alternate syllabus because that is possible to teach these children. Okay. But they don't even offer that. So when she
goes to the library.
Right. When she questioned, all you heard was crickets. Okay. They didn't have an answer for her. How is that acceptable? How would that, these kids need an education. How is that acceptable that you can't even offer an alternate syllabus?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that vote got, and who was the one who voted yes, who wasn't supposed to on
Britton.
See, and this is on David Britton. And
Yeah,
I see, I'm friends with David. I consider him a friend. Let's put it this way. However, I don't know if you remember, Brandy, when this first came up, he asked a question of like, at what point are we gonna trust our administrator? Well, the reply to that is never. Never, because this administrator has never cared what the parents are concerned about, nor in reality about the kids. He's concerned more of his paycheck, okay, than he is, in doing his job and being effective in his job, because if he was effective in his job, we wouldn't be seeing the scores. Okay, so it's a disappointment to me, okay, that David would say yes to this when he should have said no.
Yeah,
he should have said no, because this is totally unacceptable.
Yeah, that's one of the things I said we were going to do when we're covering these meetings. If you vote wrong, we're going to hold it against you. So, David Britton, you made a mistake tonight. If you would like to reach out to us to be able to explain your side of it or to come on an episode, we can talk off the record. I'd be happy to talk off the record to you. Just make me understand. But for now, we are going to hold you accountable for that vote. That was not a good vote. So we will be reminding people of that specific vote. As well as other ones when your seat is up and you're running for re-election. That is how we, the Boiling Point podcast, are going to hold the electors, the people we elected, accountable. We will release more, remind everybody when it's time for them to run for re-election. We will remind everybody of the things that they did wrong. If they don't shape up, everybody makes mistakes, but if you continue to exhibit the same kind of behavior, then we will call you on it. This was not a good decision. You clearly. All of the other conservatives voted against it. So reach out to us and explain why, or it's something that we are going to hold against you as a mistake, because I agree with Mariana. This is not something that should have been voted for. Many of the conservative members wanted to take it back to committee to discuss it more and to review some information. And anytime that I think that's exactly what should happen.
And the other side of this, and I think you remember, Brandy, we actually typed up a letter in reference to this, okay, and we submitted it. We had like 27, 28 signatures, and we send it to each and every of these board members. And for him to know how the parents feel and to sit there and say yes and pass this, I'm sorry, Dude, we
Yeah,
need to talk.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's yeah, that was not the right vote there. That is not what the people wanted. If your people wanted it, then again, reach out to us and let us know. I'm going to let any member of the school board will have a chance to defend themselves if they want it. But if you don't take it, then we are going to hold you accountable for these bad decisions, and that was definitely one tonight. All right, so next week we got a policy meeting and another school board meeting. We will try and see if we can go a little early to cover the policy meeting, but I cannot make any guarantees of that. We were running late tonight to even be able to showcase the school board meeting tonight, so I don't know if we'll be able to go earlier or not next Thursday. We'll try, but worst case, we will be able to do the school board meeting. Tune in to the policy meeting. It is available online on their website. Just search the West Shore School District, Pennsylvania, and you'll be able to find their website. It's really easy to navigate, surprisingly. Their website is actually not that hard to navigate. So should be able to find the recordings and the live streams. So go check out the policy meeting next Wednesday. Randy, Mariana, is there anything that you want to remind anybody or any last words you want to get in before we get ready to close out?
Well, I want to remind everybody of the prayer walk on March 22nd. We are praying to bring these strongholds that's holding the West Shore School District schools and administration captive. Because, we have authority in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus, and we have to start fighting this on our knees because a lot of the people, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandy, that comes to these meetings are avowed Satanists, avowed witches, and, we have to come across as the Christians that we are, and we have to give the spiritual fight, the spiritual warfare that is needed in the situation because there's so many factors into what's happening here. There's so many factors. So we need to pray these strongholds down. And we encourage any pastor hearing us to please join us in the prayer. If you want to come, personally and join us on these days, great. If you want to, pray with your church members, great. But we are in desperate need of prayer here in the West Shore School District. So that's going to be March 22nd, 10
March
a.m.
22nd.
We're going to meet at Cedar Cliff High School at the parking lot behind the planetarium.
Okay, and that's Saturday, March 22nd. So if anybody wants to make it to that, I will see about trying to make it out there, see if I can get some transportation out there to cover it for the podcast and to participate, of course. So look for us next Thursday to cover maybe the policy meeting, but we'll definitely be back to at least cover the school board meeting and to talk about that. Look for this weekend, we expand our coverage into the Northern School District. I'll be having an episode tomorrow morning with some of the parents from the Northern School District. It will not be a live episode. We're going to record and then I will post it either later tomorrow night or on Saturday during the day. So look for that. We expand our coverage into Northern School District this weekend. If you are if you're a school board member, if you're a parent of a school board of a school district, and you need some help shining some light on some things, reach out to us, and the Boiling Point Podcast will help as much as we can. So again, look for our coverage in the Northern School District, Mariana, and Mariana's new series, the West Shore School District Watchdog Reports, which started yesterday. She posted her first episode. It was late last night by the time I got it posted, but it's on all of our channels on the Boiling Point Podcast. Make sure you check that. That's where Mariana's content is going to be now on our channels. She'll likely post some of these things on her personal YouTube channel after the first week or a couple of days or something. But anything new is going to be released on under our flag now, the Boiling Point Podcast. So make sure you keep checking us for Mariana's reports. That's where you're going to find them now.
I also want to interject something. As part of the series, we will be interviewing Brandy because we want to get the truth out as to what happened with the social emotional learning lawsuit. Her family and her name was smeared. Okay, school board members were, making fun of them, talking bad about them, slandering them, and it is time that this community hears the truth from her own mouth as to what really happened, why that lawsuit took place, and the outcome of it. It's time for us to start declaring the truth, okay, of the West Shore School District, opening these doors, pulling that curtain, and showing the parents the ugliness, okay, that has taken place in this district. And God, we thank God that she won. She came out victorious, but she does have a story that is worthy to be heard.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that, and I'm glad to have recruited Mariana to the Boiling Point podcast team. I love having a show that I don't have to be directly involved in every single day for every single episode. So it's nice to have another content producer on the team, and Mariana is good with her information. So make sure you tune into her Watchdog report, because while we do cover it here on the Boiling Point podcast, you know, I'm only one guy, and this is only one show. So Mariana joining the team and starting her Watchdog report series, that's where you're going to find most of the West Shore School District information going forward. We will still do our live streams, and we will still do episodes on the Boiling Point podcast, but stay tuned to Mariana's Watchdog series. That's going to be where you're going to find out the weekly, daily information that you need right away. Okay, because the episodes that I plan out are usually planned out a little bit more. But Mariana, when there's something happening, she gets on, she produces something, and we get it posted right away. So make sure you tune into her series. It does have its own playlist on YouTube. So if you want to check out our YouTube channel, we are on YouTube, we are on Rumble, and we are on Facebook. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. Follow any of our social media pages. Everything is listed in the description of this video. This has been a long episode, and we are going to close out. So, for Brandy and Mariana, I am your host, JD, and that's the end.
Saturday on Fox.